Burn Live, baby. What it do? What it do? What it do? What it do? What it really do? Hey, Burn Live, y'all. Marijuana be keeping you into the news. Hashtagging these red eyes, changing the view with iRed, keeping underage smoking on social media, killing ourselves for your entertainment, sitting here with friends and family, starting a cannabis station. I've been thinking about that a long time, y'all. Changing the intro part. You know what I'm saying? Marijuana be keeping you connected. I love that part. That's like my favorite part. But Burn Live is not that same Burn Live in 2018, 2019, before 2020 came. I'm not. So I was like, marijuana keep you connected. I rarely talk about weed on here anymore. So it's just like now it's marijuana keeping you into the news. Marijuana keeping you up on game of what's going on. I highly appreciate. I appreciate you stopping through. I was shocked. I'm like, people coming through. I ain't even sharing out my video. Now that's awesome. I highly appreciate. Tonight we're going to discuss Andrew Tate. He did a video. He did an interview basically. It released it maybe 10 hours ago. Exclusive about the BBC, about the Matrix, about what's going on. With society, liberals, Democrats, Republicans. It's a 4-hour tape. That's why I went live a little early today because I wanted to go over it, discuss it, break it down with you, and I was like, I could record it. Now maybe I should have recorded it and went live with y'all and did it like that. But then I was like, I don't know. I felt like maybe the fact of just going live and just discussing it, and we'll be here for 2 or 3 hours. I just thought maybe that would be more better of a focus. Cause I'm focused, man. I just thought that'd be better of a focus, better of a contribute to what's going on, and you know what I'm saying? We can always get the live reactions. And I always think sometimes that live reaction is the best reaction because we all be seeing what goes on when people record and you see the recording. And sometimes, I ain't gonna lie to you, it throws me off. When I see people recording and you see that they messed up and they skipped, I'll be more curious, like, what did they skip? What did they say? You know what I'm saying? What was they talking about? What was the actual discussion? I wish somebody could let me know or tune me in to what be popping. I'm sharing this out real quick, y'all. Just forgive me a second. That's one thing that I rarely do. So I was just like, hey, let me share this out. Let me see if I can get any of my family members and friends. See if I can get some new people up in here. I'm always skeptical of sharing my videos out to certain people. But nowadays, now that I'm grown, not the fact that I'm grown, the fact that I know vision of where I want to take my marijuana podcast is more helpful and more thankful and give me more of the strength to share out. It really do. It really do. It really do. And I think that's the confidence that I was looking in because I got teachers that I still see on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, and I'd be skeptical of sharing it out to them because I'm like, nah. But nah, I'm not like that no more. Now that I'm more open and I know that we're discussing things in here that's gonna help us learn and whatnot, hey, it's more the merrier. I appreciate people coming in here and stopping through because now I know that my channel is here to help us learn. But more of the why, and all the boo-hoo and all the stuff. Let's get into this doggone show. You know what I'm saying? I got a special help. Angel Cake, she always in the building, always helping me out. Y'all know what time it is, y'all. We finna get into this Andrew Tate. If you like Andrew Tate, if you don't like Andrew Tate, put in the comments why, what he do to you, how he hurt your feelings. You know, let me know. Let me know. I don't know. I'm just saying, man. A lot of people be all up in their feelings. Sometimes we in your feelings. Like I said, y'all, this is a 4.5-hour interview. This is going to get into a lot of discussion. His jail life, the BC. They're going to break it down. I just feel like when there's something that you may not understand or something that needs to be discussed, we're going to pause, discuss. We might take a short break because you know how YouTube is. Hey, y'all, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit all that good stuff before we get into this. Thank you so much. Let me start the show.
Avoid rape charges because he was beefing with a autistic child on the internet. I think he's referencing the great Greta.
Yep.
Matt Bernstein advocated to get you kicked off of Instagram.
Sure.
And he's part of the Blue Pill community, a big famous makeup artist.
Yep.
Ethan Klein said, and that's why I call him Andrew, the human trafficker. He sent me a cease and desist threatening to sue me for defamation for saying he's a human trafficker.
Yeah.
What else am I supposed to call someone that buys and sells human beings after their will? Tate, the human trafficker. NBC in January 2023 said Andrew Tate said he broke a woman's jaw and that his business was a scam ahead of Romanian charges.
Yeah.
Rolling Stone said, meet Andrew Tate.
Okay, just to break this off, just let you know what's going on. He's reading quotes from people who put in newspapers articles about him when he had got locked up in jail. Okay, so that's how they started off. Just reading how people view Andrew Tate.
Kickboxer, red pilling the angry young men of America. These are people that didn't support you. Now, these are the people that supported you. Tucker Carlson, he comes out and he says on Full Send podcast, first of all, he's really smart.
Yeah.
The spirit that animates Andrew Tate is very clear and very obvious, and it's not a malicious spirit at all. Andrew Tate's core message is respect for yourself, act like you're worth something,
Yep.
achieve something, do something, get the fuck off the couch, put down the porn, go do something with your life. That's the greatest message that anyone could give. It tells you everything about the people in charge who say that's threatening. What is that threatening? The same people who live on the pedo island with Epstein and the same people that were friends with Harvey Weinstein were claiming to protect women by rebuking Tate.
Yep.
That's Tucker Carlson.
Yep.
Piers Morgan, who originally, when he went on, it was very combative.
Correct.
It was a very good interview, entertaining, but it was also interesting to see him trying to push you. And then he flips and he says, this is getting ridiculous. Romanian authorities must either charge him
Yep.
and his brother if they have actual evidence of crimes or release them. Musk obviously supported by restoring your account like this. Jake Shields said people are freaking out about young boys looking up to Andrew Tate, but totally fine with young girls looking up to Cardi B and the Kardashians. And obviously, Aiden Ross, Red Pill community, Joe Rogan. I can go on and on and on about a lot of things that's being said. We watched the BBC interview, and we'll talk about BBC here in a minute because I have some questions on that as well. But the first thing I want to ask you is, 9 months, where we were at then, September, to where we are today, a lot's changed. How do you feel with everything that's going on? And tell us a little bit about your current state today.
Yeah, there's a very strange sense of terror that comes from knowing exactly what's going to happen to you. There's a strange sense of calm that comes from it also. But in the middle of the night, when you can't sleep, sometimes you feel happy knowing what they're trying to do to you, and sometimes you feel terrified knowing what they're trying to do to you. I think I'm very happy. Every single podcast I did previous to this, I hammered the point home and I made it very clear that they had the intention of trying to put me in jail. I said, there's 3 lives. They try and cancel you and slander you and destroy your name. They don't just want you to disappear from the internet. They want you to disappear from the internet in a cloud of shame. They have to shame you, which is why they chose the crimes they did for me. And it's why they usually choose the crimes they choose, because it's heinous. They want to shame you and they want you to disappear with your head facing the ground and never pop up again. Obviously, they attempted to cancel me. I became more famous than ever before. I even said to you on your podcast, and I said on other podcasts, I think they made a mistake. I think when you have power and you overuse it, what happens is a rebellion. That's how a revolution starts. When you have power, you have to be very, very careful with how you use that power. The second you overuse it, there's a revolution. And we're in Romania, so they know all about that. That's exactly what happens. And I said at the time, I think I was a mistake. I think they made a big mistake canceling me the way they did. And then the second time, the second life, which I described as they try and put you in jail for no reason. Here we are in the current scenario. I knew it was going to happen. And the third one is they put a bullet in your head. So we're going to have to see how the second life plays out. And yeah, I mean, when this is all over and I win the court case and I get the not guilty, I won't be smiling. I'll be walking out the courtroom with my head on a swivel. That's the kind of life I'm living now. I'm going to be thinking, oh, okay, so their second attempt failed. Now what? Like, do I want to fly private anymore? Do I want to go that place anymore? You start to think about these things. Like, do I want to do these things? A lot of billionaires dying in plane crashes. It's strange. So it's scary, regardless of how it plays out. And I guess you just have to go with the punches and see where it lands. And God has a plan for me and for all of us. And we're just going to see how it ends up.
Full disclosure, you don't have any suicidal thoughts.
I want to make it very clear, and I make it clear on absolutely every single podcast, I would never kill myself. I don't care what they say. I don't care what video they show you. Never under any circumstance would I kill myself. It's haram. Never. I don't care if they put me back in the dungeon, solitary confinement by myself for the rest of my human years. I would never kill myself. Ever. Ever. So
you have to be, see, the Matrix, I'm assuming that's who we're talking about. Now, the Matrix would be afraid of him because, one, he generates a lot of money. A small guy like me actually saying what he truly feels and wants to say, they're going to just make sure nobody gets my video. That's why I be like, share me out. Because, yes, we need to be more voice opinionated, especially if it's facts. Facts rules over everything. And on this channel, on this show, I have showed y'all countless of times that social media, the news cancels facts. I need to make that shirt. Social media cancels facts.
That ever happens, God forbid, do not believe whatever garbage they tell you. The chance of me killing myself is precisely zero.
And you had this complete level of certainty that this is exactly how it would play out. You've said this on umpteen podcasts that this is their agenda.
They have to damage my influence. They have to damage my influence. They can't sit there and let me be influential because I'm saying things that they don't like me saying. And there are people sitting around going, he's saying things counter to our message and counter to our narrative. Get rid of it. And they have a pretty standardized playbook. And this is probably one of the first times in history where their playbook just isn't working. Cancel him. He's still around. Oh, well, lie about him in the news. Just say he touches chicks. Well, no one believes it. Oh, all the comments are on his side. Everyone's calling us liars. Okay, then do it again. Then do it again. Make up a new girl. Then do it again. Find someone else. Yeah. And they keep attacking me with the same weapons, but the bullets are bouncing off. And that doesn't give me a sense of calm. That doesn't make me think, ha, 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 I'm invincible. It makes me think, uh-oh. It makes me think, uh-oh, because human life is cheap at the top. It's very cheap.
Does it make you want to sit on the sidelines and be quiet and just kind of live a life with your family, your kids? Does it make you want to do that? Maybe always attention is actually not a good thing.
It's interesting because sometimes I analyze myself and think, why don't I just do that? Why don't I just disappear? You know, I don't need money. I don't need fame. Why don't I just disappear? And then you have to, I was saying this to my brother and he was like, well, Genghis Khan didn't need Vienna. Some people are just wired that way. Like Vienna's a long way from Kathmandu. Sometimes that's just the way it is. Or Ulaanbaatar, I apologize.
I feel him on that. I have failed at this podcast attempt since 2017. I have tried and tried since 2017. You see the shirt? Burn Live. But yet I keep going. Yet the mission has to be finished. The mission has to be completed. And this is before I even met Andrew Tate. It was just something that drove in me, just like, yeah, I want to show the marijuana life, but the marijuana was just the opening of a door to get me to even get on this, because I don't think if it was for weed, I wouldn't have been trying to get on the show or nothing. I would have been trying to get on TV or nothing. Yeah, I really would.
It's a capital of Mongolia. That's just the way some people are. If I see injustice and if I see things which I believe to be false, I feel like I am obligated to say the truth. I can't explain why, even if at my own detriment. What am I doing this for? Like, it's to the detriment of my life. And I've had these conversations at length with the people close to me, and we're all saying the same thing. It's always been the same way. Humanity's always been the same way. There's been a select, small, few good men up against evil. And evil always outnumbers you. Evil always has more money than you. They always have more power and more influence than you. If you play any video game, when you get to the end boss, he always has more life than you. He always has more hit points, but you're the good guy. And it's kind of like, it's never been any different. At any point in human history, there's been the good guys up against the forces of evil, whatever they were of the time. And you've always been outnumbered, and you've always been supposed to lose.
So you consider yourself the good guy in this situation?
I think that truth is instilled by God in all of us. And I think if you tell the truth, you're a good person.
So who do you think is the bad guy? You know, everyone uses they, them, they're after me. Who's they? Who's the bad guy?
Well, instead of saying who, I will say, what I will start by saying is what they do. And what they do is they control information. And we now live in an information society. And by controlling information, they control how people think and act and react to things. That's all they have to do. They have to control information.
They never would have thought we got this far in intelligence. There are books. You can look up the Rockefeller takeover. You can look at the Jim Crow law books. These are not just made in America. This was a world domination situation that we're talking about, y'all. We're talking about people who influence the world, who, you know how you look at ants. Real smack, y'all. I need y'all to really get this under y'all beautiful skulls. You know how you look at ants. How do you look at an ant? I'm going to give you a pause so you can think about it in your head. You see an ant, you flick it. It's nothing, right? It's that small. That's how the so-called 1%, these people that control us, looks at the human system. We are so easily replaced. Burn Live is so easily replaced. That's how it's easy. Just cut them off and put somebody else, anybody that, you know, they'll put a children's, you know what I'm saying? That's how you got to start looking at you in your society until you start building something strong for yourself.
Information, and they have to be very selective with what they allow you to talk about, what they allow you to discuss, and what they don't. And once they can do that, they can keep you bickering about garbage, and they can control the sensitive information, and then they run the world. So having all the information controlled and having this hard barrier on what can be discussed, that's how they can purport absolute fallacies. I think now it's been a couple of years, we can probably talk about it. They psyoped the world into believing they should be afraid of the common cold. They psyoped the world into this. And if you think about how difficult that would be to do, how difficult would it be to psyop the entire population of Earth? Well, what you do is you just lie on repeat, and you don't allow anyone to say anything counter to it without hurting them the same way I've been hurt. And you just psyop them. It's actually amazing because now I use that exact same psyop on people. I love it. I love it. So when I sit with someone who's not matrix-minded, when I sit with someone who is matrix-minded, like when the BBC walked in here, I'm like, do you all have your vaccinations? Social distancing.
Did you actually?
100%. Social distancing, please. And they look at me like I'm crazy. Well, how am I crazy? 2 years ago, you were telling me to do this. Now when I repeat your own worldview to you, I'm crazy. Well, if I'm crazy, guess what? You're a fucking liar because you lied the whole time. So either you're a liar or I'm not. You know, how can I be nuts? Put your fucking mask on. If I ever talk to any of these clowns again, they're going to be fully masked up. And I refuse. I don't care if you've had 2 booster jabs. No, I want all 6. All 6 injections. I want paperwork.
You see, do you see the mind of a man that's on a mission, y'all? I think this is time that I got to pause and let y'all know. Mind of a man that's on a mission. when you see, I guess we have to call them the Matrix. But when you see the Matrix for what it is and how they play the games, how they play their rules, you're gonna have to play by their rules. But when you play by their rules methodically to where it backfires on them, I got a lot of people in my little small circle that I talk to who has a mindset to where they can go places. You just got to find that trigger to what opens you to make you want to go there. And when you go there, yes, you're gonna press authority. You're gonna make sure authority is checking on the boxes because they try to put you in their place. When they try to put you in your place, you're gonna put them back in their places because you're gonna want that same respect that they did to you. You're gonna want that to done to everybody. Just don't come lashing out at me without coming to lash out at someone else. Now, my marijuana channel is about politics and politicians and things that affect us every day. And Andrew Tate, this show, the reason why I brought him on, because he's talking about people or a force or a matrix that affects you every day. And if you don't think that you're affected by this in a comment, please put that in the comments so I can come hit you up and let you know why you're affected by this every day.
You're not coming in the house.
I'm scared of COVID. It's dangerous. I believe the mainstream media. I'm scared.
This word you keep using, PSYOP, I've never heard this word. It's short for psychological operations.
Correct.
Break that down. What exactly is a PSYOP?
Yeah, a PSYOP is the matrix as a whole. It's like psychological operations are constant. They constantly decide how they want you to think and what they can do to make you believe that, right?
PSYOP. I'm rewind that, dog, because I don't think y'all really peeping the message and the points that they're making that I need y'all to pay attention to. That's one thing I don't do that I'm start doing on my show. Look at this. Look at this. You see, they came with notes. I need my notes. I need my notes. But I'm gonna play it again so y'all can hear it one more time.
You're not coming in the house.
I'm scared of COVID. It's dangerous. I believe the mainstream media. I'm scared.
This word you keep using, PSYOP, I've never heard this word. It's short for psychological operations.
Correct.
Break that.
PSYOP, psychological operations. What they want you to think, how they think.
Down. What exactly is a PSYOP?
Yeah, a PSYOP is the matrix as a whole. It's like psychological operations are constant. They constantly decide how they want you to think and what they can do to make you believe that, right? There's a whole bunch of them they do. But it starts with tolerance. That's what I don't like about this whole guise of tolerance. It's not that I'm an intolerant person. It's not that I'm a bad person. It's not that I want to hurt other people. But when they keep pushing tolerance, what they're trying to say is have no standards or barriers or parameters for anything. That's what they want. You have to be tolerant. Tolerant of what? Tolerant of having your shop set on fire, tolerant of your kids being taught things you don't want, tolerant of crime, tolerant of your house being broken into. Like, tolerant of what? You're not allowed any hard barrier or any hard parameters as a man anymore. That's why they push tolerance. That's the beginning of it. That's the first stage. Once you accept absolute tolerance, well, then it's the end, isn't it? I'm tolerant of everything. I'll eat the bugs. Sure.
You'll tolerate everything.
I'll tolerate everything. I'm tolerant. Sure. So when I say things like I'm intolerant to certain things and people think that's bad, no, you need to have standards and parameters. And that's one of the reasons they also attack me. I say that men should be allowed to have standards and parameters in a relationship and in their lives. We should be allowed to decide who we just want to marry. And we should.
Okay. I'm finna cut this video real quick. I'm finna go to another video to show you what he means about them controlling us and making them tell us what is our narrative. You want an example? Check this out. Check this out. I got one for y'all. It just ran across my little little thing. I'm like, man, let me hit y'all with an example. Let me hit y'all with a quick
What do
example.
you think about white men?
I think it's just the term white man, just immediate turn off.
What do you think of black men?
Love.
Do you think it's racist to, by default, not like white men?
I mean, I don't think so because I think there's a difference between like racism and that's an interesting question.
It's an interesting question.
Yeah, because like I mean I don't dislike, but there.
They want us to believe there's racism in America, like bluntly in our face. But he bluntly asked her a question, and she is what? 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 She,
There is like a like nervous feeling. I don't know.
So if you met someone who said that they get nervous around black men and that they've had bad experiences with black men, would you still consider that racist?
Ooh, yeah, I see your point.
So to me, there's nothing wrong with having preferences or opinions, but I just don't think that she actually has any thoughts on white people as much as she has talking points on what she thinks is acceptable. Because not only does she have negative thoughts.
Okay. I just wanted to get a quick little dumbass sample real quick, just so y'all can get, I know it was probably the most dumbest, but this is what he's talking about. This is what we're going through. Okay.
Have standards for her. They have standards for us. We should allow ourselves to have standards for her. We should have standards in what we'll accept from a government and standards in what we'll accept from a police force. We should have standards as men, but they're trying to erode all of that because once that's gone, then your brain is completely empty. And then once your brain's empty, they can just plug in the slave program and then it's over, right? You're a tolerant person. You're a tolerant person. Good. You're a good slave. Slaves are exceptionally tolerant.
So the shirt you wear is what? Escape the slave mind?
Resist the slave.
Resist the slave mind. What does that mean exactly?
It's a better word, resist.
Resist.
Right? But I want to do this before we get into, because we got 5 hours. We got plenty of time to get into a lot of different topics. So one, I do want to talk about BBC, the handling of the interview. I want to get your thoughts on it. I know there's been reactions, but I want to go a little bit deeper into it because I want to compare how your start with the interview with BBC started versus Philip Schofield versus Musk. I got all the first questions. We'll cover that. I want to talk about media. I want to talk about your evolution of your faith, atheist, Christian, Muslim, and then some of the things that's going on with politics right now. You know, maybe a little bit of Romania, you know, Trump. We'll cover what you're talking about with different things. It's funny you're saying monopoly on power. Monopoly on power, if you abuse it, now YouTube's turning around and saying, hey, you can talk about the election. We're no longer going to give the strike. So that doesn't work forever. First thing I want to talk about, I think the audience would like to know, for you and Tristan, 92 days in the dungeon, you know, you're in jail, your experience in there. We keep hearing about it. We read about it. But what was it like for you guys being in there?
So I'll start by saying, and I have to make this clear, that the staff in the jail were exceptionally nice to me. They were very apologetic. The vibe was apologetic. Nobody was really treating me like a criminal. There were a few guys who were icy cold, I guess you could call them. They like to think of themselves as professional, but they were just inhuman. But over time, they warmed up, and I was exceptionally nice also to all the staff. Jail was terrible. I'm going to start by saying jail was terrible, and I was miserable inside of the jail cell. It's a good thing depression isn't real, because I would have been depressed. But I think in life that you get what you give, and I wanted to feel happier, so I tried my very best to make people happy. So when the old lady would bring me my food, I would sit and say, oh, this is the best food I've ever had. I've never had food this good. Did you cook this? I thought yesterday was the best, but you managed to surpass it again. How'd you do it? What's the magic ingredient? And I ended up making friends with them. Like I had grandmas in there, the old ladies cooking the food. And by trying to make people happy and smile all the time, I started to feel a lot happier. But it's kind of scary. And I think the scariest thing about jail was the uncertainty of it all. If they would have said to me, you're in jail for 92 days or even 5 years, you got 5 years. Cool, I do my time. But when you're nabbed and thrown in a cell without charge, you're like, well, how long is this my life? Is this it now? Is this the end of the story? I'm just in this cell. And I was picked up on 29th of December. I went through this quick court case. Like I said, I'm inside of the jurisdiction of Romania, so I have to be very careful with what I say because the case is ongoing and we're in Romania and I can't leave Romania. But obviously, Romanian court is in Romanian by law. So you're marched into this room. Everyone speaks a language you don't understand for 15 minutes, and then you're marched off to jail. Look, what even happened? What even happened to me? And they said, oh, here's the paper that explains it. I was like, that's in Romanian. And they said, oh, don't worry, you'll get a translation to English by law. I was like, okay, that's fine. But because I was picked up on the 29th of December and there was New Year's Eve and holidays, it was 2 weeks before I even knew why I was in jail. 2 solid weeks I'm in jail. No one told me in English why I'm in jail. I had no idea what the charge.
Can they do that?
By law, you get it on the piece of paper in English, but it's translation, it's holiday, we need to find a translator, there's a delay.
And you speak zero Romanian.
Zero. So they said, oh yeah, human trafficking. I'm like, what do you mean human trafficking? Who? When? What? What is this? Took 2 weeks before I finally got a piece of paper, and then I realized what garbage it truly was. I mean, I knew it was garbage, but I was like, this is complete garbage.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I have endless stories from jail. It was certainly. I don't think jail teaches you much new. What it does is confirm everything you already know. It confirms everything you know about the reality of the outside world, that you need to be physically strong so that you're not attacked by others, and mentally strong so you're not attacked by yourself. You learn who's on your side and who isn't. You learn who's a coward and who's not. You learn who's an opportunist and who isn't. Your circle, you certainly learn a lot.
Wow. Rehabilitating yourself. Rehabilitating yourself. Yeah. We got to sharpen our minds. We got to understand that even though we're good people, we're trying to do the good thing. Myself and I'm trying to do the right thing. I might get attacked. But if you ever seen my show, I be egging it on sometimes. I be like, come on with it. I wish I would. Find me a Democrat that's going to say something about my Republican smoking weed, marijuana ass on my damn show. I wish they would. I wish a mother son of a kitten would. But I have prepared myself. I study every day, like all day, every day, making sure that when I talk to somebody and I hit them with facts or I hit them with a subject or a meaning that is understandable, it's reasonable. Hey, and if you don't like it, it's the facts. It's truthful. But yeah, man, we gotta get ready.
About the people around you when you go
Over
to a
here.
jail cell, that's for sure. But I remember it was New Year's Eve. When I was first picked up on the 29th of December, I was very sure I'd be out in 24 hours. So there's no way they're gonna keep me. For what? Like this doesn't make sense. So finally New Year's Eve rolls around, and I'm sitting in the jail cell by myself. And in Romanian jail, you don't leave the room. It's not like an American jail where there's a yard or anything. You're stuck in the room. It's 3x4, and that's your existence. You just stay in the room.
Are you by yourself? Or
24
with
hours
Tristan?
a day. At the beginning, I was by myself. And you're stuck in this room, and I'm sitting there. It's New Year's Eve, and there's a very faint speaker, maybe way down the hallway. The guards must have been having a little party for New Year's Eve. And there's this awful song. It's called the Ketchup song. I don't know if you know what it is. I don't want to sing it, but it goes, hey, aha, hey,
Of course.
that
Yes.
super annoying song. And I'm sitting there, and I know it's New Year's Eve because the fireworks start going off. And I'm looking out my tiny window, and I can just hear in the very long distance from the end of the hallway, hey, aha, hey. And I'm sitting there looking out the window like, this can't be it. This can't be the end of my life. Even the cockroaches all over the walls didn't celebrate. There was maybe 15 cockroaches on the walls, right? And when it struck 12 and the fireworks went off, I kind of like, well, who's my friends in here? The cockroaches. I looked at them, even they didn't move. I was like, well, that's New Year's. It's funny because before that, a couple days before that, me and Tristan were discussing, do we want to do New Year's in Dubai? Do we want to go Courchevel? Shall we go Miami? We're all arguing, oh, that will be boring. Now that's too far. We had all these grandeur plans. Oh, finally we decided to go to Dubai. We were in Czech Republic at the time, and we decided to go to Dubai. And I said, let's stop in Romania so I can repack a suitcase. So
That's it. That's the only reason.
That's the only reason. So jet left Prague, landed in Romania. My jet was still on the runway. Came here overnight to pack a suitcase, spent the night, spoke to Greta with the pizza box, and it's 5 a.m. they got me. before I flew back to Dubai. So that was my
The infamous Greta pizza box situation.
Greta pizza box.
How much you think there's anything linked to Greta? Is there anything because the timing of it?
Yeah, I don't think she specifically said that.
Of course.
But there are certainly people within the Matrix machine that you can't attack without catching flack for. There's certainly protected people. It's absolutely and utterly a club, and you're either in the club or you're outside of the club. She's certainly in the club, right? So if you say certain things about certain people.
Hey, just a quick question. Anybody going to Romania anytime soon? Huh? You going to Maria Pizza Parlor shop? Hey, I'll put this down in my damn book. Hey, in my notes. If I ever go to Romania and see Maria Pizza shop, no. Andrew Tate, you lock up. Matrix.
Or you get a beef with X amount of people, or you discredit a certain person, they're going to try very hard to teach you a lesson for doing that. And you can see very clearly who's in the club and who isn't by the Philip Schofield situation. This is a man who has groomed boys and had sex with them, but he's in the club. All of the media headlines after 2 days are, let's have compassion, feel sorry for him, his mother's upset. They've attacked me for 14 months, day after day after day, and they relentlessly attack me. Nobody talks about my mental health. Nobody gives a shit how I feel. I didn't do any of the things he did. He's actually done things. I haven't done anything. But when you're in the club, you're protected by the media. When you're not in the club, you're attacked by the media. And that's how it simply works. You're either on our side or you're not. But to join their side, you have to sell your soul. Your sanity has a price. Your sanity is for sale. You have to.
I'm glad he said it so people can really get both sides. For people that watch my show that is spiritual, people that watch my show that's not spiritual. When you're with them, your insanity, your thoughts, how you feel, how you dress, where you can be. I wanted to be a rapper. I wanted to sign. I wanted to be all that. And yeah. Kind of glad I didn't. I'm really glad I didn't, to be honest. But you know what I'm saying? The other side of it is you still can make a lot of money and not obviously be too involved with the Matrix. I guess that's what we're going to start calling them. That's weird to just call them the Matrix. I'm going to find a new word to call them. I'm only calling the Matrix because that's what they call. But when you messing with the industry and lobbyist, this is type of scenarios and brands and ideologies and things you have to be appalled on.
Sell it. You have to come along with your sanity, take out your mind and say, here you go. Take my sanity. I'll take 35 million. Yes, that is a woman. Yes, protect me. It's insane. And the reason these people join these clubs is because they know they're doing bad things and they feel that they need protection. The reason I stand up and argue against all this shit is because I know I don't have skeletons in my closet. You think I'd be on the internet talking like I talk and fighting the Matrix if I had skeletons in my closet, if I was actually a bad person? I've been investigated as deeply as a person can be investigated by multiple federal agencies for 14 months. I was locked in a jail cell and 2,000 people I know was called. My barber, my old housekeeper from when I lived in England 9 years ago, my gardener I used to have in another country I lived in. Everybody was called. And people were offered bribes effectively. The media are calling girls saying, if you have a bad story to tell about Andrew, we can pay you $30,000 if you have a bad story. That's a bribe. That's a bribe. And they still couldn't find anyone. Still, I've been investigated to a deep
30 grand to find somebody to rat me out, boy. I would have never got out of jail. Everybody that's watching this show, think about somebody who would tell the most slanderous, wonderful Walt Disney Pixar story about you to make sure they get 30 grand in their pockets. Boy, you're going to be, it's going to be Rick and Morty live action up in here. You're going to be doing so much stuff. You're going to think you was New Jack City, how much crime you used to do. 30 grand? Somebody call me right now. Brrr. Hey, you know such and such? Not really. Let them call me. Hey, 30 grand, say something about, oh man, you know that used to. But do I want to go down that road of lying on somebody and putting them in all that hassle? And then if they're acquitted, then I get sued. You got to think about consequences both ways.
Deeper level than 99.9% of people you'll cross on the street. And they're saying I'm guilty and I'm a bad person. You go get 20 men off the street and put them through what I've been through. You'll find more crimes than you've ever found with me. Absolute clown world. It's insane. And if I was part of the club, none of this would be happening. The media would be on my side. They wouldn't be hitting me this hard. They wouldn't be lying about me. All I had to do was sell my soul and sell my sanity, and I refused. And they're trying to punish me for it. That's what's happening.
It's funny you say this. When we watched the BBC interview with Musk, right? And he goes up and the guy opens up the question with, why'd you agree to do this interview? He says, well, I don't know. What's the name of the BBC? And he's trying to mock them and all this stuff. And there's a part of it where, you know, he calls them out for the mistakes they made. Yeah. And if you go to the bottom of the interview on BBC, you'll see comment section saying, why'd you cut that out? Because Musk puts it on Twitter, but they didn't put it in the interview. Yeah. Then you watch the interview with you. The first question they ask you was, what's the first question? Hey, you've been accused of
serious crimes,
rape or something like that. You know, right off the bat, they ask that question of you. And then you see the interview, Lucy Williamson, I believe her first question was, you're facing some very serious allegations. Have you raped anybody? That's the open question that they ask you. And the video they put up, the first one, they take it down. The second video they put up, that's 12 minutes, like the highlight one, they turn, the comment section is open. There's 80,000 plus comments there. Then you look at Philip Schofield. Yeah. And you just brought up Philip Schofield. For people that don't know who Philip Schofield, do you mind explaining to people who he is?
Yeah, he was a TV presenter in England. He was very famous. He ran the morning show. And he was grooming children for a very long time. And all the staff knew about it. And the people who worked on the show with them were being groomed by him. And everybody knew. And it was all a big ha-ha-ha joke. And now he's come out saying, oh, please don't pick on me. I feel sad. And the media is saying, I'll leave the guy alone.
He is, when you go look up his Wikipedia, it says he rose to prominence as children's BBC continuity presenter from 85 to 87. Yep. Then went on to do programs on BBC and ITV for Going Live, This Morning, Dancing on Ice, All-Star Mr. and Mrs., The Cube, and a bunch of other things. And they interview him, okay? While he's going through the mess, you know, after 27 years of being married, this one guy that he groomed since 10 years old, his name is McGreevy, I want to say, something McGreevy, that he's going through the process. Matthew McGreevy, they met at 10 years old at a theater group. At 15 years old, Philip follows him on Twitter. While the kid is 15, he follows him on Twitter. The guy celebrates it. Long story short, Ruth Langsford, they work together with. She files a complaint. Then right after filing the complaint, McGreevy gets fired. Then he has to take a break. Then he comes out after 27 years telling his wife, you know, and hey, I'm gay, I'm coming out of the closet. He's got 2 daughters. But there's a part of it where Matthew calls his wife and says, hey, your husband and I had an affair together when I was 19 the first time and 20 and all. Nobody knows if it was before or not. The interesting thing about him is his brother, Timothy Schofield. I don't know if you know about his brother.
Oh, what, the one who's in jail for being a pedophile?
Was convicted of 11 sexual offenses involving a child between October 2016 and 2019, including 2 sexual activity with a child. Here's how the interview started. First question, the guy asked him. He says, you've had quite a week. How are you? Opening question. Versus the question they ask you on the opening, right? And then he turns around.
Damn. So, I guess my next question to my audience would be, okay, is it gonna be with the Matrix or not with the Matrix? Because man, they're gonna ask you some harsh questions, some really deep questions, and are you ready for these type of questions? Like, if you touch on a boy, they're gonna hold your hand. They're gonna soften you up. They're gonna rub you down. They're gonna put lotion on you. Like, yeah, You like boys. I like boys too. Yeah. You're awesome. You're incredible. But if you don't like boys, oh, you're disgusting. You're a pig. Should be locked up. Damn. You're a Trump supporter. You're a white supremacist. You're a white supremacist. You're a black supremacist. You're just supremacing. You're just supremacing everybody. You're just suppressing everybody just feeling bad about themselves. This is the mindset. I better wake up and pay attention to this.
And says the media's interest in the affair was motivated partly because of homophobia, alleging that an affair with a much younger woman would have not generated such a scandal. So he gets protected.
Yep.
And he says all those people who write those stuff, do they ever think that there's actually a person on the other end, right? This is proven. By the way, this is the part where even when somebody's watching you and saying, why are they taking him to court? Maybe he did something. Why are they taking Trump to court? Maybe he did something. Why are they taking this guy? He must have done something. There must have been something there, right? It's stuff like this BBC does. If BBC are watching this right now, I want to kind of remind you of your mission statement that you have on your website. We're going to put the link below to your mission statement. You can go find it. Here's what your mission statement is, BBC. This is why you've lost some credibility the last couple of years. To act in public interest, serving all audiences through the provision of impartial, keyword impartial, high quality and distinctive output and services which inform, educate, and entertain. You say you inform, educate, you entertain, yet you conceal, misinform, and your content's quite frankly boring. You're cherry picking on people that you're talking to. So a message like that gets the average person to say, everything with you is allegedly, everything he did is proven, his brother is proven, yet let's leave him alone. Poor guy, let's target him. This is where their argument has leaks in it. And somebody like you can tear it up.
Absolutely. Philip is part of the club and I'm not. And this is the thing. I'm a mentally resilient person, right? 14 months they've attacked me. I'm not going to sit and complain about that because that's not how I operate as a man. 14 months they've complained about me. If you type Romania, human trafficking, you type in any of these things, my name comes up, my face, I'm a bad person. I've lost all my bank accounts. I've lost all my social media accounts. I've been vilified all across the matrix in every single possible way. They print my face every single day with something negative next to it daily. Nobody gives a shit about my mental health, right? Because I'm the enemy. And what's scary about this is Lucy Williamson herself, she was begging me for an interview. The BBC were begging me for an interview. I don't need any of these people. The only reason I even sat down with the BBC is because they were begging me. I can go and just say my own words and get plenty of views, right? But the whole time I was in jail, they're begging me for an interview. Can we speak to him on the phone? Maybe you can give an interview from jail. Can we have an interview? Please, 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 please. And I was saying, why do I want to talk to the BBC? And the BBC were saying, no, we don't want to do a hit piece. We want to come across, we want to be impartial.
This is what they're telling me.
This is what they're telling me. We want to be impartial. We believe there's a side of the story that hasn't been told. We're really interested in some of the, let's say, what's the word? I don't want to get this wrong. Inconsistencies in the Romanian justice system. We're very interested in his side of the story. There's been enough hit pieces. We want to tell the other side. We want to hear Andrew Tate's story. And I said, no, on repeat. Then they sent me a list of questions. I didn't even ask for a list of questions. That's not who I am. I don't have to script. I never asked for a list of questions. They sent me a list of questions. Here's what we're going to ask. It's about his mental health. It's about the Romanian justice system. It's about the fact he hasn't been charged. His liberty's been deprived. All this stuff. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. Maybe it's a bit interesting. And the Matrix is obviously printing lies about me. And these are some interesting questions from the Matrix for the first time ever. Okay. They walk in here all smiles and happy, all smiley faces trying to take me off guard. I already have my list of questions, right? It's all going to be nice and easy. I sit down and they instantly attack me. They put the cameras on first and they attack me, expecting me to stutter and make a fool of myself. It's kind of like they tried to sucker punch me. I'm in the club and they're my friends shaking my hand and they tried to hit me and knock me out. And this is the thing that's so amazing about it. Yes, I destroyed the BBC, but of course I did because I'm smarter than all of them. But why should I have to rely on my wit and intellect to destroy BBC with their research team and their plan? Their deliberate plan to try and annihilate my not only my credibility, but my life.
The Mike and Ice was good, first of all. But no, that's what we talked about, I think 2 days ago to yesterday, whatever, with The View. The View goes on there, and you know they got people who take the time out and give them all the research, all the information that they need to go out there and have a good discussion with you guys. You know what I'm saying? It's just like me, like I said, I need to, if I had more time, and well, not more time, if I better scheduled myself at work to be like, okay, boom, let me get my work done. Here's my pad, here's my notes. Let me take my notes, boom, 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 to be more prepared for a show. The show probably do a lot better too. So I'm gonna try that for one. But the thing is, when you got programs that are already scheduled and put together like that, The View, the BBC, CNN, SBC, all of this, you want perfection. You be sitting there watching them show like you're not asking the question. You know the question. We know the question. They know the question, but then they don't ask the question. And we sit here, and then you got a show like me. We're discussing. I'm like, man, they didn't ask that question. I would ask this question. I would ask that question. Same difference.
They are trying to put me back in jail. These people, they're not dishonest. They're genuinely evil, and they don't give a shit. And so why should I even sit there and entertain them? I believe I could slip every single sucker punch they throw at me for the rest of human time. I could sit with any of these clowns, and no matter who they sit with their research team, whatever garbage they come up with, I'll make a fool of all of them. But why am I even entertaining them anymore? What's the point? That was the last chance I gave mainstream media. They lied for months to get that interview with me. Completely dishonest, head to toe. And like you said, they sit with Philip. Are you okay? Are you okay? We heard your mom's upset, that poor old lady. Maybe everyone should stop talking about it because his mom's upset. Let's not talk about it anymore because his mother's old. You're either part of the club or you're not. You have to sell your sanity nowadays. If you sell your sanity, you're afforded protections. That's the reality of it, because if you're a sane thinking person, you don't buy their bullshit. And that's what upsets them. They don't want anybody who thinks for themselves. They need you to they want you to believe exactly what's on the television screen. Believe in COVID. It's COVID now. It's COVID now. Oh, Putin's invaded Ukraine. Putin's cured COVID now. Now it's Ukraine. It's insane till the next thing comes. It's absolutely asinine.
Did any of the questions that they sent you ahead of time?
Zero.
By the way, we didn't. There was no.
No, that's not how
that
we
you
operate.
asked us ahead of time whatsoever. Did they ask you any of the questions they
Zero.
said they were going to ask you?
Zero. They start with an attack and it became a battle instantly.
Did they ask you at any point what jail was like?
Zero.
What your mental health was like?
Zero.
How, like, you completely missed the mark when everyone wants to know what was jail like.
Well,
but they don't even ask you that question.
But this is what's so interesting about it. These people are so detached from reality, because they are genuinely detached from reality. They think that finding a video I made 8 years ago, a 4-hour speech I made 8 years ago, and finding one line of it without context that can be misconstrued, they think that sitting down with me and saying that to me is an aha moment. Nobody cares, because you're taken out of context, one. And I said you're taking things out of context. She goes, I'm not taking it out of context. I said, if you're presenting it without context, that's taking it out of context. That's what it is. You're lying by omission. I said that to her after the camera's off, and she looked at me because she didn't understand. When you omit details, when you refuse to put in all of the details, you can lie by including one detail which may happen to be true. You can tell the truth and miss all the details around the truth, and you are lying by omission. You're lying by omission. And you're sitting here saying, oh, you said this 8 years ago. Nobody cares, because they know me, and they know I didn't mean it in that way, and they know it's taken out of context, and they know that it's an old video on the internet, and it's not even an aha moment they think it is. But they just want to sit with you for an hour, attack you and attack you and attack you, wait for you to make one mistake. If I would have stuttered or made a single mistake, that's the only 3 minutes they would have shown. That's all they want. They want that 1 hour, then they take the little bit. With me, they cut it down to 12 minutes and look terrible in all of it. But if I would have made a single mistake, it would have been the only bit they shown. That's all they care about. Fake news.
Did you tell them, did you say, I'm only doing this if I'm able to record as well?
I said
Because
that.
I know that's what happened with Trump as well a couple of years ago.
I didn't even tell them. I just recorded it.
Okay, so they didn't know you were
They
recording.
didn't know I was recording until afterwards. And then I said, that was dishonest. I'm going to release the whole video.
You told them before you released it.
I told them.
There is no contract or agreement with BBC.
No.
Nothing was signed. It was just simply an interview. Okay. Because I think that was very important when you released it, for people to see what fully was said versus, and by the way, you know the Philip Schofield interview that they put up, the 12-minute one that just came out, you know the comments are turned off.
Of course they are.
The comments are turned off, yours are turned on, his is turned off.
Of course.
And who knows many reasons why they would do that. But going back to BBC. So, okay, they come, they want to ask the questions of you. For some of the people that maybe aren't following the story closely, but they know who you are. We're in the car, we're driving, and a lot of people are asking questions. We ask the drivers, like, hey, are you going to Tate's place? How do you know we're going to Tate's place? And he says, well, who's Tate? Oh, Andrew Tate. Oh, tell us about Andrew Tate. Well, this is okay. What kind of a guy is he? He said, I actually really like him. I said, why do you think he's going through what he's going through right now? Oh, it's always because of money. Okay, so we're at a different restaurant. So tell us, why are you going through this? Why is he going? Everybody's saying a similar thing about this, right? But for those who don't know, there's 3 different camps.
Yeah.
The camp that already sees you guilty, it doesn't matter what they read. So for example, this story here, from BBC came out just last night, 10:30. Andrew Tate choked me until I passed that, UK woman claims, right? This is Alice, another anonymous name, just like Sophie, right? Yeah. But there's 3 camps. There's those that say, well, look, I'm already thinking he's guilty. I don't like him anyways. I need anything to get me to think he's guilty. Yeah. Whatever it takes. I don't have to do my own due diligence. I just have to hear anything. Then there's a camp that's a diehard fan. There's nothing you can do that they did wrong. In their eyes, it's going to be wrong. Then you have the people in the middle that are the reasonable ones that are saying, you know what, let me look at this. Yeah. What about this? What about that? The people in the middle may say the following question. They may say, and I may have asked this question from you last time as well. They may say, Andrew, okay, if this guy is so innocent, how can they get you to go to the dungeon for 92 days? How can they put you on house arrest? How can they do all this stuff? Yeah. If you're somebody that was born in US, you lived in UK, how come somebody else isn't coming to bail you out? You got different lawyers. How is it that they can keep doing this to you if you're not guilty? What do you say to those people?
Yeah, and once again, I have to be careful what I say because of the court case, but Romania has a law where the law in Romania is basically, if you can prove to a judge that it might have happened, they're allowed to hold you up to 6 months during the investigation stage. If I was guilty of anything, I would have been charged long ago. And we're going to talk about charges soon because I still believe they're going to attempt to charge me. But we're now approaching the end of the 6 months they can keep me under a form of arrest for without charge. Typically in Romania, when I was first arrested, the guard said, within 2 weeks, you'll have your indictment. I was like, 2 weeks? He goes, yeah, everyone gets charged quickly. Nobody waits 6 months for a charge. If they arrest you, they charge you, like every other country, right? The fact they've waited 6 months and gone into my entire life and attempted to find something shows they don't have a case. Why I believe it happened is because they didn't have a case when they were trying to hit me with this garbage, and they thought, you know what? If we put him all over the news, if we slander his name completely, there was a hotline set up. If you're a girl who's been hurt by Andrew Tate, call this number in the UK. A hotline. So they were attempting to use the media to find what they wanted. Months go by, case file's empty, nothing's happening. My lawyer's saying, when are we going to close this case file? Like, yeah, we're just waiting for some papers. We're going to close it. Around the time I was canceled, things started appearing in the case file again. They start spying on me again. Very interesting that it happened around that time. I don't know if they understood that I wasn't protected by the political class of the USA. I don't know what happened. They started to build this case, and they spied on me for all of these months, spending millions of euros, spying on me everywhere I went, trying to find evidence of a crime. Eventually, they get to the end of their legal limit to spy on me, and they don't have any crime. They don't have anything. So in my current court case, we have 2 Americans who lied, the ones who we have the conversations between them saying they're going to get an Oscar for lying to the police. We have the CCTV of them coming and going. We have their Uber records showing they can travel the country freely. We have their phone calls with their mother where they're saying, yeah, he didn't hurt me, and my boyfriend caught me. We have all of it. We have all the evidence. We have those 2. And then there's nobody else who could possibly even take the stand. I don't believe, as high level as this Matrix attack is, I still don't believe a Romanian judge is going to put me in jail with the dossiers. I've seen it. It's garbage. I don't think I'm going to end up in jail. But it's just taking years of my life, damaging my influence, having bad things to say about me, keeping me under control, keeping me locked in a house. That's all they want to do. They have no interest in the truth. There's no victims. There's no one to take the stand.
Do you know who Sophie is or Alice is or no?
Yeah, so the BBC,
Ali?
That's really interesting. So then the BBC says, well, we found victims. Because the BBC have done enough investigative journalism to understand that the case is garbage and there's no victims. So they said, well, we found victims. They found one called Sophie first. That was a few months ago. I think I was still in jail when Sophie appeared.
Is that her real name?
No, that's her fake name. So they have a girl with a fake name called Sophie. They don't show her face. They ask me, what do you think about Sophie? How can I comment on Sophie when Sophie isn't real? Firstly, you've made her up. Secondly, I don't know who you're talking about. You're saying that 9 years ago, I was emotionally controlling? That is the most subjective garbage accusation. What does that mean? 9 years ago, I said you shouldn't party with those guys in the club. Is that what I said? I don't know what I said. I don't know who she is, if she exists at all. And they're saying 9 years ago, you were emotionally controlling. Sophie said so. Who's Sophie? We're not telling you. What's emotionally controlling mean? We're not telling you. What comment do you want me to? If this person even exists, which they don't, then I destroy the BBC, make it very clear to them that Sophie doesn't exist on repeat because she doesn't. And 2 days later, Alice appears. What's interesting about this is that DCAUT, the federal agency inside of Romania, along with help from international partners, have tried so hard, spending millions of euros with federal level tools to find a victim.
They tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, all right. All right, y'all. We got through our first hour of this. I have to sort of do this, hide. I was talking to a good friend, my engineer. I was talking to him earlier. I was like, man, I really want to start putting in the contents, really what I'll be discussing and talking about. And I was like, man, if I do that, the Matrix is going to get me. And that's what I'm going to call him, since that's what we're talking today. And he was like, man, you're right. I was like, I feel like that's the only way. This is the only reason why I get away with watching all these videos and watching how I watch them, and we're able to discuss the way we discuss them, is because in the description, which I don't know where it's at when you watch it, down there, over there, up there. You know what I'm saying? It's just Monday facts and receipts. You know what I'm saying? Or Monday madness, or whatever description I put. And I hope that just catches on to my audience to let you know, like, it's really going to go down, really going to try to discuss real hard things. The still is a marijuana, you know what I'm saying, thing. But like I said, marijuana bringing you guys the news is way more important to me and my new mission into bringing you the news, bringing you the facts, bringing you the receipts, bringing you all this stuff. Now, real quick, what I want to do is give y'all a small break, or give YouTube another algorithm to look at real quick. So I'm going to bring up this other report real quick, real fast.
The idea of equal justice is not playing out here. And so that's a real concern to all Americans. So as a policymaker, elected officials, we want to make sure it's equal justice for all. We want to look at it as a weaponization. Now, you're with CNN, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this even further, because when somebody weaponizes government and they actually get removed from government, let's take Andrew McCabe, okay, former deputy.
But this is a different
let me
case.
answer
This
the
is a
question.
different set of circumstances.
All right, guys. So for the second time today, we got to talk about a GOP politician or presidential candidate bodying a CNN reporter. Earlier today, I did a video about Vivek Ramaswamy, who's a GOP presidential candidate, bodying Dana Bash to her face on TV after she asked him about Trump's indictment. And Vivek Ramaswamy did an amazing job of turning it back around on her and basically exposing the fact that CNN is not even doing basic journalism when it comes to this Trump indictment. They're not asking questions about why in the world is the Department of Justice not going after, people like Pence, people like Hillary Clinton, Biden, the president of the United States, the same way that they're going after Trump, even though they allegedly committed similar crimes. They're not even asking the question of whether or not the Department of Justice is being weaponized for political purposes by the Biden administration and the Democrats, which is a question that they would definitely be asking if Trump was in office, okay? If Trump was in office and Trump's DOJ went after, for example, Biden, right, for mishandling classified information as vice president, which he did.
I'm going to ask y'all a dumb question. Is is Trump in the Matrix? Is Trump part of the Matrix? From what they discussed, because Andrew Tate and them they're gonna talk about Trump later on, so we're gonna hear about it. But before we get to that part, that's why I brought this story up too, y'all. Don't get it twisted. You know, I'm methodical. I think. Is Trump part of the Matrix? With everything that he's going through? What do you guys think, man? Put a comment down in the comment section, man.
We all know that CNN will be saying, well, is this politically motivated, right? Is this a witch hunt? We all know that's what the narrative would be, okay? However, because it's Biden, they want to pretend that, hey, there's no political motivation, right? These people aren't trying to essentially take Trump out of the race before he even gets the opportunity to get a vote, okay? Because, you know, Democrats don't actually really believe in democracy. But yeah, Vivek Ramaswamy did a great job. Now we have to talk about Kevin McCarthy, who does basically a similar thing to a CNN reporter, okay, in which he is asked about the Trump indictment because that's all they want to talk about. But Kevin McCarthy does a great job of turning it back around on CNN and basically saying, well, look, CNN hired a guy that was fired by the FBI for leaking sensitive information to the media, okay, and then lying about it allegedly, right? That guy is Andrew McCabe, who is the former deputy director of the FBI. And again, Kevin McCarthy is going to bring that up. And I think that he does an amazing job of taking down this CNN reporter. However, I have a problem with Kevin McCarthy. Okay. And I'm going to tell you guys why I have a problem with Kevin McCarthy after I play this video. So I want to go ahead and play it. But first, I just want to let you guys know, if you like my channel and you want to support my 2023 Democrat Party. So you can check that out at gforemanbcp.com. Get 20% off using discount code.
Equal justice is not playing out here. And so that's a real concern to all Americans. So as a policymaker, elected officials, we want to make sure it's equal justice for all. We want to look at it as a weaponization. Now, what you're with CNN, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this even further, because when somebody weaponizes government and they actually get removed from government, let's take Andrew McCabe, okay, former deputy.
But this is a different
let me
case.
let me answer the
This is a
question.
different set of circumstances, right? I mean, the former president is accused of misleading law enforcement, of a conspiracy of obstructing justice. That's a different set of facts. Are you prepared to defend him as the former president? And what other actions will the House take in the House Judiciary Committee in terms of funding?
Are you prepared to defend your network, CNN?
I'm asking you a question,
I'm
Mr.
answering
Speaker.
your question. You could ask me any question you want, but I'm entitled to answer the question, okay? You can't put words in my mouth, even though your network can hire Andrew McCabe, who was fired from the FBI for leaking classified documents. Did you remove him from your network? No, you continue to put him on to give judgment against President Trump. You also hire Clapper. Clapper has come out publicly.
Mr. Speaker,
and
what steps is the House going to take in terms of, is there any effort to defund the FBI, any effort to defund the Department of Justice after what you've seen over the last several
He's fighting the Matrix.
days?
So your network hires Clapper, who literally lied to the American public, one of 51 other individuals that had briefings and used it politically to tell the American public that a laptop was Russia collusion, even though it had all this information about the Biden administration. Are you prepared to get rid of those people from your network? Because my concern as a policymaker is that when you weaponize government, and now you're weaponizing networks, that is wrong. So we will take all of our power to make sure that the legal system in America gets the blinders back on and people are treated fairly. I have a real problem that your network actually pays people
Speaker
who
Beckman.
did classified information and then lied to the American public to try to influence a presidential election. And then you put them on your network to give an
But I'm
opinion
asking you a question
about
about
a
the former
president.
president,
And
Donald
I'm
Trump.
answering your
But you're not answering what
Oh,
the
very
House-
clearly,
what the
because
House
what
is
your
prepared
network
to
has
do.
done has weaponized at the same time. I think equal justice is important
Just
for
secret,
all.
just do
Yes.
that. Now, you seen that, you heard that. Now, what Kevin McCarthy is referring to when it comes to Andrew McCabe is the fact that he got fired from the FBI because he allegedly leaked sensitive information about an FBI investigation into the Clinton Foundation before the 2016 election. And then CNN went on to hire him, okay, and to have him on the network, even though he clearly is a political operative, right, for the Democrat Party. He also was talking about CNN hiring James Clapper as well, too, who signed on to a document in 2020 basically alleging that the factually correct New York Post report on the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation, which, you know, CNN hired him as well, too. And I think that Kevin McCarthy did a great job of calling out CNN and their hypocrisy when it comes to, you know, weaponization of political actors, which, I mean, that is what CNN is doing here. They're hiring political actors, okay, bad actors, so that they can push a political agenda, a partisan agenda, okay? I mean, that's exactly what's happening. And again, I love the fact that Kevin McCarthy called that out, okay, to CNN's face, calling out the network. I love it, okay? However, here's my issue with Kevin McCarthy. My issue is that I actually wanted to see him answer that question, right? Like, what are you going to do to defund the FBI and the DOJ? Because you're claiming that these organizations, these entities have been weaponized for political purposes. Great. We agree with you, right? CNN is corrupt. They hire bad people. Yeah, I agree with you, right? What are you going to do about it? Okay, what are you going to do about the DOJ and the FBI? Are you actually going to defund the FBI and the DOJ? I actually wanted to hear an answer to that question, Mr. McCarthy, right? And the reason why is because Kevin McCarthy talked a big game. He talked a big game about the debt, getting spending under control, and potentially looking at funding for Ukraine, right? However, after he got elected speaker, after giving a ton of concessions to conservatives in the Freedom Caucus, he hasn't been nearly as tough as he claims that he was going to be. Now, again, he's been tough in these interviews with the media, right? But it's time for the GOP to move past pointing out the hypocrisy of the left. Yes, we've done a lot of that, okay? Hypocrisy is all over the place when it comes to the media, when it comes to Democrats. It's all over the place. We know that they're hypocrites, right? We know they're corrupt. The question now is, what are you going to do about it? Okay, are you going to stick to your guns?
We know damn well they're not gonna stick to their guns. Well, I don't know. Yeah, but I took that short break, rolled my blood. Let's get back to the real story at hand. If you're just joining me, ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Tate had an interview. This bit, an interview got put out 10 hours ago? No, maybe less than that. 8 hours ago. We're going over it. We're dissecting it. It's 4 hours. Please get your drinks, your snacks, tuck your kids in, tell them leave you the hell alone. It's gonna be a long night show. We already an hour, 15 minutes in. Let's get back into the show.
So they can put me in jail. And they can't find anyone. But the BBC just pulls them up whatever they want. The BBC does. Where do these people come from? And I say this every single time. If anybody believes they've been wronged, male or female, by me, go to the police. Go to the police. I encourage you to go to the police. All these people say, we don't want to go to the police. We just want to stay on the news. What, is that because you're not real? Is that why? That's pretty convenient. I mean, I thought it was a bad person. Why don't you go to the cops? Oh, because you have no evidence and it doesn't exist? That's why.
Are all these accusers in the UK, not even in Romania?
Not even in Romania. So Sophie and Alice are supposedly both from the UK. And Alice's story
To
is...
correct, it's not Alice. I said Alice, it's Evie. Evie or Evie or something like that. Evie.
It's all made up names. is
It's
your
all
point.
made up.
Yes.
So
we
Evie,
could call whatever name we want, but
yeah, Evie is saying 13 years ago, I choked her or something.
Yeah. By the way, when is the 6-month time limit?
End of this.
Okay. And can we reference the tweet you just posted a couple days ago?
I want to stay on this. She
Sure.
was commenting on Evie. You were going to say something about Evie, what she said 10. So she's claiming 10 years ago or 13 years ago, you guys had the consensual sex the first time. She comes back for the second time around. According to the story, she says she was being, your hand was on her throat, strangled me. She was passed out for a minute. And then she came back and she said, I did not approve of the second time having sex after she was passed out. So these stories they're making, and then she says, the guy asked a question saying, how come you didn't do any police report back then? She says, well, because it's not fully rape and it's not that, because it was consensual. I kind of wanted to be there. And I didn't tell anybody about it 6 years later. There's way too many things that doesn't give it credibility for somebody to say, I didn't do anything about it then, but 6 years later, I told my friends, 3 or 6 years later.
Yeah. And this is the thing that's scary. If you say to any red-blooded male, 13 years ago, you had sex with a woman consensually and she's now unhappy about how that sex happened. You can get, any man on earth can get screwed with that. If this person exists at all. And like you said, she refused to go to the police if she exists. And she's saying it was consensual. I think last night they aired it on Newsnight and she literally, they said, why are you coming forward now? And I think this actor, the person literally said, because now he's rich and famous. They literally said those words. That's what they said. Oh, because now he's rich and famous. I think it's unfair. It's asinine. I don't understand genuinely how a man can protect himself in the Western world anymore. How can you even exist anymore? If this is what they're going to hit you with as soon as you get to a certain level of influence, there's no man on earth who's safe from this. I said this to my judges. I had a few male judges. I said, they could do this to you. They could do this to anyone. They can do it to you or me or any man watching this. Any man watching this. They can put in the BBC 9 years ago you did something. They won't tell you her name. They won't give you any chance to defend yourself because you have no idea what they're fucking talking about. And they will print it on repeat until you lose your job and lose your bank and lose your social media. And then you're going to sit there bankrupt and depressed. And then they're just going to move on from you. And if you don't die, if you're like me, a cockroach who refuses to die, if you sit around and refuse to go away, they're going to make up a new one. It's crazy. And it's genuinely scary. And you're not safe from it anywhere anymore. I will say right now on this podcast, I encourage absolutely anybody who believes I've harmed them, male or female, to go to the police with evidence and we'll go to court. Let's do it. I don't harm people. If I was harming people, I wouldn't be out here as open as I was. The biggest criminals and the biggest gangsters, the most heinous people on earth don't have social media. You know this. If I see a guy with an Instagram pretending he's a gangster, he's not a gangster. The real gangster hasn't got Instagram. But that's the reality of it. You think I'm going to become the most Googled man in the world if I've been running around hurting people? It's absolutely insane. And I think there has been a shift.
I had a friend just say there ain't no more gangsters. So there's real thugs out here. It's real gangsters. And you heard it. They ain't got no social media. They ain't on here broadcasting. I'm Republican thugging. I just play.
Into consciousness. I think especially because of COVID and a few other things, people are starting to understand that all these people do is lie. I think people are starting to understand that. And the harder they try and hurt me with these lies, the less people believe it, which is scary for me. Like I said earlier, it's scary. They keep coming up with more garbage. The bullets keep bouncing off. So now they're sitting around going, we can't convince the world this person is a bad person. How do we get rid of him? That's the scary part.
You were going to.
Before you go on, I'm going to ask my audience this next question. This is going to be a hard question. How do you get rid of Andrew Tate? How do you get rid of him? We're sitting on here. We're a hour and a half watching this show. He's brought you his side. He's telling you how he is. He's letting you know how intelligent he is, how smart he's going to fight back, and that he's not going to go nowhere. He's not the only person that's like that. So I'm not saying y'all, but we was the Matrix. We were trying to get rid of him. How are you going to get rid of him? Would you do the opposite? You can't bash them, so you would over glorify. You can't kill them. You can't kill them.
Eventually, someone will try to find a way.
You can't kill them. When somebody is intelligent enough to put themselves around people that's gonna make sure that he stays safe, you can't kill him. The next thing you can do to a person like that is do the opposite.
Or wait for him to fail at some point.
He's not going. Yo, when you're on your path to going right and you're doing the right thing and you're being successful, you know, 9 times out of 10, this is everybody, rappers too, except for the idiots. There are a few idiots, but you're not gonna mess that up. You're not gonna mess that up. Once you get your credit, your housing, and your business, and you're running, that's like me right now. I get my audience together and the marijuana, and I can still do the political parts, and I get everything to where we're growing. Why would I mess that up and go out here and smack the shit out of somebody, knowing that I make a little bit enough money to where they can sue me, to where they can put a bad reputation on my thing? My YouTube page right now, as long as it's been running, is all green. You know what I'm saying? It's good. And I don't have no stars. People don't put comments and put their 2 cents in about the page. That's okay, but it's not bad. So yet again, I'm gonna try to do like my other pages in the past. I'm gonna try to protect it to the best of my ability. You know, that I would go a little bit outside of my boundary only if the story is necessary. It needs to. If the story is that deep and it needs to be covered, I would almost say like the Trump investigation, the indictment in Florida needs to be covered, but it needs to be covered on a basis where it's new news. A progress has went somewhere. I just don't want to put, oh, he said this, she said that, he said this, unless these are vital fighting points to this man's case. That's why I'm not going to report on it till tomorrow. He goes to court tomorrow at 3:00. I probably go live, doing it live and do it and hit it live while he's up in court.
To say something.
Yeah,
Follow up on that if you want to
the
go
6
there.
months. You know, it's
6 months coming up right now.
It's coming up
Yeah.
June 29th, I believe.
Correct.
Okay, you put out a tweet recently. You
June
said the
29th.
6-month time limit is running out.
Yeah.
Right? There's zero evidence against me unless they invent something against me, right? And then you ask a poll. You said if they charge me with an empty bullet and it still takes a year to beat it and allows them to save face, they're hoping that the world will basically forget about all this.
Yeah.
What do you think they will do? And you gave people 3 options. Option 1, let me go. Option 2, charge me with no evidence. Option 3, invent and frame attempt. The results were 38% let me go,
Yep.
right? 35% invent and frame attempt. And option 2, in third place, charge me with no evidence, 27%. 38%, 35%, 27%. So basically, it's pretty even. So what do you think is going to happen here?
The people, the 38% of people who think they're going to let me go, I think are extremely naive. I go to sleep every night, every morning. I wake up instinctually at 5 a.m. because that's when they raid your house. I wake up at like 4:59. I just fucking shoot up because they busted my house 3 times now. It's not nice to have a bunch of men with guns bust in your house. It's not a nice experience. So every single morning I wake up expecting them to just turn up again with something else and drag me back to a prison cell. Who knows what? They'll just make it up. But the fact they made up this particular crime is because it's a hit piece and it's a slander on my reputation. If they would have done the same thing, let's say for tax evasion, would anyone care? No. Oh, rich guy didn't pay a piece of paper. No one cares. We have to hurt his name. Human trafficking. Think about that. I said this to the judge. How does it make sense? A man with no criminal record who is financially successful decides to begin to human traffic at 35 years of age. I have no financial motivation. It's clearly not my personality profile. I don't need money. Why have I begun to human traffic from nowhere? It doesn't even make any sense from a pure logical perspective. There's no motive to the crime. Who have I human trafficked?
Yet again, it's just like my page. Now that I got this going, this rhythm going, why all of a sudden would I be still in balance to make sure that Trump get in office? I put to go around to all these schools during the election and make sure that Trump, you like why would you do something dumb like that?
Who is the victim? There's no victims and there's no motive. And here I am on house arrest. It's insane. So yeah, it's genuinely intimidating. I don't know what's going to happen next. I believe they're going to try and charge me with the garbage they have. And I think what they're trying to do is just hang it over my head and keep me afraid.
Do you think the idea of trying to either silence you or make you irrelevant is working? Meaning, do you think you're more relevant today than you were on September 1st? Is that strategy they're implementing working?
No, they're failing. And the reason they're failing is because God's put me in a position where I have to lead from the front. I think that in the days of old, when politics used to mean something, I believe in politics as long as the leader of the country charges on his horse at the enemy at the front. Then you're allowed to be king. Then I'll listen to your laws. That's politics. When you send other people's kids to die in a war and you sit on your ass, that's not politics to me. But now I'm in a position where I'm spearheading, by God's plan, the rights of basically every man on earth. They could do this to anybody. So I think any man with a brain who's thinking is looking at my position and going, they could hit me or my friends or my son or my dad the same way they're hitting this guy. And that builds a degree of affinity amongst my audience. So no, they failed. They failed and they've made a hero out of me, which is what I'm actually scared of. I am scared by the incompetence of my enemy. I am scared by the fact that they are failing so monumentally. If they had been half successful with the cancellation, none of this would have happened. If the cancellation made me an obscure internet personality, it'd be over. If I would have just allowed them to beat me, none of this would have happened. But I beat them. And that's the problem. Now I'm sitting here going, okay, well, after I beat the BBC, after I destroyed the BBC, Tristan gave me a high five. He's like, oh, you wrecked them. They're going to look so stupid. I said, bro, we've sunk the HMS Hood. HMS Hood in World War II, HMS Hood was the British battleship. It was the flagship of the Royal Navy. And the Royal Navy was obviously renowned. It has been for hundreds of years. It was the best battleship. And it was up against German battlecruiser, the Bismarck. And the Hood should have outgunned the Bismarck. And it was the best German ship against the best British ship. By absolute fluke, the Bismarck, on its first volley or second volley, landed a shell perfectly through the top of the Hood and blew up the ammo magazine. And like in the first shot, within minutes, destroyed the entire HMS Hood, killed I think it was 3,000 people, 2 survivors. You can find the video on YouTube, the Hood blow into pieces. When Churchill found out the Hood was sunk, he said, sink the Bismarck, don't care what it costs. He sent every ship, every plane, every sub diverted from every other mission. Doesn't care if we lose every plane we have. Don't care if we lose the RAF. We cannot lose the Hood without him losing the Bismarck. Sink the Bismarck. When the Bismarck sunk the Hood, all of the crew were celebrating except the captain. The captain updated his will. He updated his will and telegraphed home to his wife and said goodbye because he knew. When I destroyed the BBC, my brother was celebrating. I knew. I said, Tristan, no. You don't beat the British Broadcasting Corporation and make fools of them like this without some new bullshit. We sunk the Hood. And he's like, oh, we'll see. Oh, who's this? Evie? Evie. I fucking knew it. I'm winning too well. I'm scared by the incompetence of these clowns. But I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. Am I supposed to lose? I'm genuinely looking for guidance here. Am I supposed to roll over and fucking lose? When they're lying about me and slandering my name and trying to put me back in a fucking dungeon? Back with the cockroaches? All I could do is protest my innocence, but they're such idiots. I make them look so stupid, and then there's egos involved. You think Lucy Williamson hasn't been called into a meeting room with some BBC producer saying, you made a fool of us? Yes, she has. There's egos involved. Big businessmen with business interests have ego investment in hurting me now. And I keep winning. So I don't know. I'm in a very precarious scenario. Do I continue to win? Do I let them win a bit? Do I just roll over and shut up? What am I supposed to do? I don't know what the right move is. It's difficult.
You sincerely don't know what the right move is.
I sincerely have decided that the best thing I can do is stay true to my faith and stay true to God and tell the truth and fight. The right move for me, I believe, is to fight and fight to the end because I think that suicide is always the wrong option. I believe if you're put in a bad position, the best thing you should possibly do is fight to the best of your ability, which is what I'm going to do. However, if I was looking at it purely logically without any kind of ideological motivations, perhaps if I would have shut up when they wanted me to, I wouldn't be in this scenario. But that's just not who I am. You know, Alexander the Great didn't have to keep conquering. Genghis Khan didn't need to take Vienna. He could have just chilled. He kept going. So I feel like when I'm in a position where I don't know what I'm supposed to do, the best thing I can do is just look to God and tell the truth. And that's what I'm doing.
I want to ask you one more question regarding human trafficking, because this is a heinous charge, or
Absolutely.
allegedly. I mean, this is not lightweight stuff. You famously ran a webcam business.
Correct.
Perfectly legal.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, I can't tell you how many women are doing OnlyFans these days.
Yep.
Webcam business.
Yep.
How much of a reason was that a correlation for the human trafficking, the sex trafficking, the webcam business? How much did they correlate that? So, well, he must be human trafficking. He's running a webcam business. There's no correlation.
Zero correlation.
So they haven't even charged any of the webcam business
Zero.
for any of this.
Zero. And what's crazy
It's
is
crazy. His people assume that, right?
it's crazy because one, it's not illegal. And two, you can go drive down the high street of Romania. There's webcam studios it's one of the most popular businesses in the country. It's not even illegal. And that was a past life. You're talking about something that happened 10 years ago.
It was that long ago.
It was about 10 years ago. Yeah. It was at the very beginning of it. The very beginning of the whole idea of that industry.
Minect is an application which allows you to take a minute to connect with influencers from all around the world. My name is Andrew Tate, and I'm available to speak directly to you on Minect.
I think it's just perception. I understand I have this perception. And I think a lot of people who are also dislike me, a lot of the reason they dislike me so much is my perception. I've had people who say, I hate what you say. I say, what do I say? And after talking to them a while, they say, it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Of course.
It's the perception of aggression. It's the perception of masculinity that they're afraid of. It's not even the words. They might like the words. It's my delivery. So I understand perception can be reality to a degree. I accepted that maybe the first month I was in jail. I understand when you have a message which is complicated, and masculinity as a whole is a very complicated tapestry, that the best way to instill it and teach it is to break it down to its core beliefs. So I've evolved way beyond Lamborghinis and chicks, right? But masculinity as a whole is a very complicated tapestry. You need to have the emotionality. You need to have the times you feel like crying and you don't. You need to have the times you can be aggressive. You need to have the times that you can be violent to protect your family. It's very complicated. And you can't teach that, especially to the young generation, in spite of the constant propaganda they have coming in their ears, very easily. So I break it down to a very core message. And the core message is that I have financial freedom, so it's hard to tell me what to do. And I have sexual access because I'm respected by women. And I have a good network because I'm respected by men. I break it down to those core things. And those core things are what I build that's how you build the tapestry of masculinity. Because if you don't have those three core things, you can never build the rest of it. That's the beginning of it. If you don't have those three things, it's hard to build the rest. So anybody who doesn't look into my message properly, I mean, I'm sure these people who are after me have never listened to me speak at length, ever. Ever. They just look at a picture. He's on a boat. There's 3 girls on the boat. There's no way those girls are happy with that because my wife hates me. And there's 3 of them. So he has to go to jail. And that's what's happening. It's that baseline. I truly believe it's that baseline. But how else can I teach my message, as complicated as it is, without first breaking down and proving you have success in the most core levels of it, right? Before you learn to box, you jab and you cross. Before you do all the complicated stuff, you do the basic stuff. So a lot of it is people looking at my message, not understanding how detailed it is, not understanding how positive it is, looking at the baseline instincts which I teach and which I use to advertise my success as a whole to people to show and say, look, I clearly know what I'm talking about to a degree because I have things that you want. And you're a man, so you can't tell me you don't want them. Every man wants this. Every man wants one of these. And they take all this and they try and weaponize it and use it against me. And you're right. It's feminism as a whole that has this idea that if a man is a man unapologetically, and he doesn't apologize for being a man, that he's a bad person, which we've discussed at length and I've discussed a bunch of times, but it's truly the most crazy thing about all of this is when shit hits the fan, it's exactly the kind of men they hate that they want. Every single time. Every single time. You can go out to a bar in America and you can stand there and argue with a feminist and argue with her to the end of time. And if someone ran in there with a gun, she would say, hey, you go. You're the misogynist. You go protect me. The feminist guy who was on my team, I don't want him to go. I want you to go, please.
We don't want Dylan Mulvaney on the front lines.
Of course not. And it's hypocritical. And it's hypocritical and it's done on purpose. It's purported by the Matrix. It's done to attack the baseline masculinity of men because they don't want men to be masculine. Because when you're masculine, you say no to things. I saw a really interesting study once that was it had testosterone level, and it was linked to your capability to disagree with people. The higher your testosterone level, the more likely you are to disagree, because at a baseline level, back before we were more civilized than we are today, if you disagreed with someone, you had to fight him.
Interesting.
You had to fight that man. For you to sit and say you are wrong, there had to be a possibility of violence. If you didn't have the capability for violence, you didn't say they're not. You didn't say they were wrong. You just agreed with stuff, right? So they don't want men who are standing up and saying, I don't believe in X. They want to reduce our testosterone levels to our eunuchs, so that we sit and say, well, I may not agree with it, but what can I really do about it? It is what it is. And then they have absolute control.
Do you think history favors that ideology? Or history, eventually, a group of men stand up and say, yeah, listen, we've had enough. This is not going to be happening.
I do believe that in history, it's always been the same. I believe it's always been a select group of good men who are up against evil. And I think they've always been outnumbered, and it's always been difficult, and they've always suffered. All of them. When I was in jail, the amount of letters I got from people, and it was just names of, and I'm not comparing myself to these people. This is the letters I got of Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, everyone who was unjustly imprisoned. Everyone's gone to jail. Because when you stand up for something, they end up trying to put you in jail. When you're a good person trying to do good, the evil, the matrix as a whole is going to try and throw you in jail. That's what they do. That's the punishment for it. And history's always been the same. It's always been a small group of outgunned people who stand up, who are to the detriment of themselves, too principled to allow injustice and evil to thrive. And they stand up and they're outgunned and they're outnumbered, but they're like, no, I have to tell the truth. If you play a video game and you're the good guy, when you get to the boss at the end, he has more life than you. He has more hit points, and he moves faster, and he's a cheater. He cheats. He cheats. The bad guy cheats, but you still win because you're good. And that's how the battle's always been. I would love for the world to be another way, but I don't think it's ever been that way. I think if you find any time in history, it's always been the same story. And now I'm in the position where, like I said earlier, what am I supposed to do? Do I have a life path in which I can genuinely help people? And do I have a life path in which I can genuinely do some damage to the evil to the world? Or am I just going to disappear like a coward and let them lie about me and do my time and shut up and delete my Twitter account and just go away?
You know how sometimes, like, I've been in sales for quite a while. If a guy who doesn't have any responsibilities and he's single, he has a $30,000 month, boom, he's going to Vegas, having a good time. Yeah. And then he doesn't work as hard until he runs out of his 30,000. 3 months later, I got to go make the 30,000 again. Oh my God, panic. I got to pay my bills. I'm behind on the phone. Yeah. Let me buy this watch and make 40 grand. I'm going out again. So it's very inconsistent, right? And then as you're in sales longer, you're like, okay, the profile of somebody that's going to be more consistent is not a single guy. It's a guy that's married, kids, homeowner. And all those three are signs of what? Married, commitment. Yep. Homeowner, commitment, responsibility. Kids, commitment, responsibility. Yep. Last time we didn't talk about your kids. Yep. At this point, I think it's public video, your daughter running to me, give daddy a kiss, all this stuff. Everybody knows at this point. Yep. When you're in jail, sometimes I sit there and I got books on my desk. I'm like 50 books behind. And I like to read. I know you don't talk about reading a lot, but I like to. I'm 50 books behind. But I bet if you're in a place where you're in jail, you're forced to think. You're forced to, Andrew, you don't have the phone. You don't have the computer. There is no emergency podcast. Yeah. Go away and think. You're sitting there, you're like, okay, family, kids, what it's really all about. Yeah. Those decisions, when you think about your kids, does it influence you to say, what are you doing this? Why are you going through all this stuff? Maybe you got to make some changes in your lifestyle. Yeah. And if yes, in what areas? Yeah. Or does it say, no, double down even more because I'm fighting for them?
And that's a really interesting question. I'll start by saying how thoughts in jail are different than thoughts in the outside world, because this is actually an observation I had. In the outside world, I don't think you carry a thought for very long that you don't want to carry. You can sit and think about something if you want to, but if you don't want to think about something, you just get your phone out. Something pops in your head, you get your phone out and distract yourself, or you get in your laptop, or you call someone, or you do something, right? It's not very often in the real world. It's not very often in the real world. You have a thought you don't want in your head, and you have nothing to take it away. You have no phone, you have no outside interaction, you have nowhere to go.
What a perspective.
Nothing. You're just stuck with it. You're stuck with that thought. So there were times in jail where, for the first time, like, I have a lot of mental control, but there was the first time ever I'm battling with my own mind saying, I don't want to think about this. And I put another thought in the way. It was on the door. It was knocking on the door all the time. And this is for weeks, because every day is the same. You never get the outside interaction. And you also, what made it worse is you never get the answer. You know, like the open loop. If you ever say to somebody, I'm going to tell you something, I'll tell you later, and it bothers them. That's what jail's like, because you might think of something. It doesn't matter what it is. I won't say what my thought was, but I'll give you an example. Let's say I thought, when did Constantinople fall? What year? I can't just Google it. I don't know. So it's stuck in your head, right? So if you have this negative thought, you don't know the answer. Normally in life, when you want to know something, you find out. But in jail, you don't. So you're like, I don't know. You got this in your head and you're like, I can't get this out of my head. So when you have a negative thought, especially if there's an open loop to it, you need to know something or you want to know something. You can't get it out of your mind. I would sit there for hours just meditating, trying to just keep the door closed on negative thoughts. It's really difficult. It's a really strange experience. And maybe in normal jail in Western countries where you get to go and interact with people, you can distract yourself. But I was stuck in a room for 93 days in one room. I did not leave. That was where I was. I was allowed to go to the fridge once a day, which is a 3-meter walk and back. That is it in my room.
You and Tristan are in the same room or no?
At the beginning, we weren't, but then we ended up in the same room.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, the thoughts in jail are very pervasive. And it's also a long time, maybe never, in the outside world where I had a thought in my head for weeks and weeks and weeks. And you just satisfy the problem. You fix the issue in the real world. In jail, you can't do that. So yeah, family and kids, and those are the positive things that you do think about. But it's difficult because I think of children, I think of legacy. And then if you're going to think of your legacy via your children, you have to think of your legacy via your actions. And then you have to sit and by extension go, well, truly, truly on my deathbed, truly, will I be happier if I gave up or if I continue to tell the truth? I'm scared of the regret of thinking, you know what, I was the most famous man in the world and every man on earth was listening to me and I was really making a difference, but I got scared. I don't think I can live with that. I don't think I can live as a coward. I'd feel like a pussy. I just feel like a wimp. And sometimes inside of men, that's all it takes for us to do the most stupid things there is. The idea of feeling like a coward. A man will run into a burning building to not be a coward. If the firefighter, they go, there's children in there and the whole building's on fire. It's like, well, I can't be a coward. Oh, fuck it. And you'll risk your life. It's something that's built inside of us, honor and pride. It's something that should be. It's what they're trying to take away from us. But it's what used to be built inside of men. And I just feel like I can't give up. I know what I'm doing is good. I know what I'm teaching is good. I know that people don't like it, but I know I'm not teaching anything that's bad. And yeah, I want my children to be happy, but I have daughters too. And how do you make sure that your daughters are secure and have a good future? Well, I think you do that by building good men. How else do you do it? My daughter is mine now, but she won't be mine forever. She's going to marry somebody. I like the idea of her marrying a good man with honor and principle, a man like me. I don't want to marry some idiot. So they call me a misogynist and I'm anti-woman. I'm pro-woman. The best way you can improve the lives of women is make men, better at being men. Because when a man is a good man, he's good for all of society, including women. He's good for everyone around him when he's good at being a man. So I feel like I'm helping them as well by extension. And it's difficult. And yeah, I can't say with honesty that I strongly considered giving up. It never crossed my mind. It was there for a second. Do I need to do this? And after like half a second, it was like, yeah, I do. I don't know why. I can't. It doesn't make logical sense.
So kids didn't influence it one way or another? Kids
made me want to do it.
Kids made you want to do it
Kids
more.
made me want to do it.
Got it.
I look up to my father as a hero, and I would hate for my sons to look up at me and not see me as a hero. Because that's how I believe you should see your dad, as a hero. And I feel like and you're not a hero without an enemy. You're not a hero without fight.
Did they ever try to, and by the way, I don't see this working effectively at all, but did they at all try to come in between you and Tristan or you and the two girls or the two of you and them? Was there any manipulation and divisiveness going on there?
What about these stories that came out that you've got cancer and lung cancer and then you were poisoned and these matrix attacks?
Yeah, so
are you planting these stories?
No.
Are they making these things up?
No, so the cancer thing is interesting because by Romanian law, every 30 days to extend the arrest, there has to be new information. They can't extend the arrest based on the previous information. So they put together all this garbage case and arrested me for 30 days. To keep me another 30 days, they have to find something during that 30-day arrest period to keep me for the second month. But of course, there's nothing to find. So when I was having medical scans in Dubai, a dark spot was identified on my lung. And I had follow-up tests booked for February. So when After the first 30 days, I called up my PA and she said, "Are you coming to Dubai?" I said, "Well, yeah, if they let me go at the end of these 30 days, I'll come to Dubai for my medical tests." They took that conversation and shown it and used it in court, saying I'm trying to flee the country. I'm trying to escape the judicial system as motivation for the second month's arrest. And the judge agreed and locked me in jail because I said that I would go to a medical appointment if I was free. And they used that as proof I'm trying to run because they had nothing else. And the judge agreed it for some reason and kept me in jail. Then everything in Romania leaks. So it leaked that I had this medical thing in Dubai. I had a problem with my lungs. And then there's a hospital here. And I decided to go to the hospital here and have it looked at because although I was not concerned, I thought, you know what? Although it's difficult to do procedures in jail, I have time for once in my life. So I decided to go to the hospital here in Romania. And Romania does have some private healthcare, which is actually very high quality. It's not as poor as people think it is. And I went to a private hospital and I knew it wasn't cancer. I knew it wasn't. I sat down with the doctor and said, "We're really concerned about this dark spot in your lung." I said, "It's not cancer." He said, "How do you know?" I said, "That's just not my life path. It's not my story."
You told him that?
Yeah. The doctor was like, "Okay, but we have to investigate." I said, "We can investigate, but it's just not my story. It's not cancer. I have 0%.
When BBC came, did you have guys like watching every move they were making? You had to almost put like one-on-one, right? Somebody's watching everything they're doing.
Everything.
You have to do it, right? You can't be, you have to be overly paranoid and skeptical with
If
these
they
guys.
want to hear about, Ricky Tang's crime lord, if they want to hear more about the crime syndicate in Hong Kong, I can tell them all about it because Carter and Lee is going to get it under control. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. This is actually a really interesting point, which I'll go into before I finish the lung story. So I went to the doctors here. In Romania, everything leaks. It leaked out to the press. I had this mark on my lungs. I was supposed to go to Dubai. They denied me going to Dubai. They said that's enough reason to hold me and keep me in jail, which is absolutely insane. All because I also had a phone call about a medical procedure. It's crazy. But they were always going to keep me anyway and find some reason. I went there. I had a bronchioscopy. Have you ever had one of them? Bro. I wouldn't call it painful, but it's certainly horrible. So they put a camera in your lung. So it's not it's down your throat, but it's in your lung. It's not down your throat. It's into the airway. So you're trying to vomit and you're trying to cough and you can barely do either. And they're moving this camera around inside. It's extremely unpleasant. Even
It sucks. I had it 3 years ago in Dallas for the whole allergy thing. Did
you have a bronchioscopy?
Yeah, they have to knock you out. It's terrible.
Yeah.
You've had the
Yeah,
same procedure.
absolutely.
Were you awake or asleep?
No, they gave me anesthesia, so I was asleep.
Oh, bro, here.
What were you?
I was awake.
Yeah.
Wide awake.
Yeah.
Oh, I was wide awake.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, it was. They gave me this. They tried to numb your throat a bit, and then they gave it to me. And the doctors all around me. It's kind of interesting because when something is in your mouth and you're choking, you want to grab it, right? So you're on a chair and you're like tied to the chair, so you can't move your hands. So you're like tied to the chair and you're like this, and they put this thing down your throat, this camera, and you're trying to vomit and you're trying to cough, but they can't move the camera when you're coughing. So even the armed guard who took me, the police officer, the guy, he was in the corner of the room, and even he was, I could see on his face, he was like, "Fucking hell." And I don't even want to reenact it because it's probably so horrible to look at, but you're just like you're trying to vomit, you're trying to cough, you're like, your face is bright red, you can't breathe. And they're like, "Stop coughing, stop coughing, stop coughing." And you have to try and stop coughing for like 2 seconds so they can adjust the camera a bit. It's the worst 20 minutes of my life. It was horrible. They finish that and they go, "Okay, well, the good news is there's precisely 0 smoking damage on your lungs, and your lungs are perfect. But the lesion, whatever it is on the outside of your lungs. It's not on the inside of your lungs. You couldn't see anything." So I completed that procedure, went back to jail. That was a nice evening. Horrible. Anyone who has a bronchioscopy, yeah, go to sleep. Don't stay awake. Horrible. Then they said, we have to find it. We have to get a biopsy from the outside of your lungs. So we have to put a needle through your back, a needle like this long, through your back, through your rib cage, to your lung, a CT guided biopsy it's called, and take a piece of it and then pull the needle back out and then do a biopsy on the piece. Now, they're like, "This is an operation. Do you want to have it while you're in jail?" Because the bronchioscopy wasn't much to recover from. I had a really sore throat, whatever. But this is an operation. Do you want to have it while you're in jail? And I was like, "Well, why not? I'm in jail. I have time. I can't recover, but I have time." So I went for my CT guided biopsy. They put you on your front. They show you the needle. It's like this long. And then they stick it in you, and then they scan you with the biopsy, and they try and see where the mark is, and they adjust the needle, and they scan it. It's like 30 minutes of them shoving this needle in you, trying to get to the right point. And eventually they did the biopsy, and they said, "Yeah, it's benign, some lesion I might have had from when I had pneumonia when I was a kid or something. It's benign." As I told you, I knew that cancer wasn't my life path. I knew it wasn't, but obviously rumors spread like wildfire.
Everybody in the States.
Especially because I smoke.
Tate's got
Especially
cancer.
because I smoke all the time.
Right.
But it was actually very refreshing to hear. I have 0 smoking damage in my lungs. 0. I was like, "There's 0?" I mean, I'll accept a little bit. I'll take a little bit, but I think it's because I train every single day. I work out every single day. I train hard every single day. And I think, you burn it off. A couple cigars here and there are not a big deal. It's not cigarettes. I think cigars are better than cigarettes. I also believe nicotine is a super drug, so I'm not going to stop. I think nicotine and caffeine.
Super drug.
100%.
What does that mean?
Nicotine and caffeine are what I run on. 100. That's all I run on. Coffee's for closers, bro. Tell him. 10
I'm the only one that drinks coffee between the two of us.
Oh, really?
By the way, you know who talked about nicotine? Tucker Carlson talked about nicotine, right? Have you seen that when he talks about nicotine, where he starts his day off with nicotine?
Fire, 100%. Fire blood. I have about 10 to 15 cups of coffee a day and 2 or 3 cigars a day, and I only eat once a day. And it's funny because people look
10
at
to 15
cups of coffee a day minimum.
Wow. But you don't do drugs.
0 drugs.
You'll have a sip of alcohol every once in a while.
I used to. I haven't had alcohol in 9 months. I've quit.
But you're running on caffeine and nicotine.
It's funny because people look at my physique when I put pictures up and they're like, "What's your meal plan?" I'm like, "Bro, cigars, coffee,
and cigars.
coffee and cigars." I eat once a day. I eat once a day.
What time?
I eat dinner only.
That's it.
Only eat dinner and 8.
So you do intermittent fasting for
Every day.
18 hours? What?
Yeah, and 80 to 90% of my calories are meat. That's it. I'll just have like 3 steaks for dinner.
Now, how much of that is genetics? How much is that like?
I'm not sure if it's genetics,
Yeah.
but that's just how I feel best. I feel best when if I smoke and drink coffee all the time, I feel hungry, which motivates me, and I feel energetic. It's energetic hungry. That's how I like to feel when I'm working. I want to be hungry. If I eat, I'm tired. Life's too good if I eat. I'm in my mansion. I've just eaten. She's beautiful. I'm going to bed. No, but if I don't, but if I don't eat, I'm like, maybe I wouldn't say angry, but I like to have that tinge of irritableness. Does that make sense? I don't know. Maybe I sound crazy. It's how I get things done. It's how I get life done. It's just how
12 cups of coffee a day, 3
Wow.
cigars, and you eat once a day.
That's right. Yeah.
And you train every day.
I train every day.
And it's working.
Well,
working for you.
It's how I feel best.
I don't know if you wrote a book on Tate's diet, if that book would do well.
Well, well, this is interesting because I had a blood test when I was in hospital for all these things, and my testosterone level, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on male hormones because I'm not. I don't understand them. I don't know what measurement it's in, but it was between 9 and 27 is the testosterone level, the mark. Between 9 and 27, the normal range. I've never taken a steroid in my life. I don't inject anything. I don't take any pills, nothing. And I was 32. I was above the normal scale, and I'm 36 years old. It's supposed to be going down. So whatever I'm doing, I'm sticking to it.
What was your diet and your regimen while in jail? There was no coffee?
I had coffee and cigarettes. Don't worry, bro. I had those.
Really?
I spent my commissary money on coffee and cigarettes. I had coffee and cigarettes and 1 meal a day, same.
So there was commissary money?
Yeah, so we had.
Who gave you that?
Yeah, so a friend of mine put money on my.
Imagine having a diet to where jail is nothing to adjust to. Nothing to adjust to because the only thing you want is coffee and cigarettes. And you can get that in jail easily. Okay.
So I was a rich guy in jail because in Romanian jail, most people haven't got money, right? I was
guy
rich.
in jail.
I was rich. There's a limit to how much you can buy, but I was spending the maximum. So I had plenty of cigarettes, coffee. I actually quit coffee. Now we're talking about coffee, and then I want to go back to the point you made earlier. But I quit coffee for the first 30 days in jail because I've never not been caffeinated. My experience of life is caffeinated. I'm a caffeinated human, right? If I'm awake, it's caffeine. So I'm like, I don't need energy now. I'm in jail. So I quit caffeine and all coffee for 30 days to see if there's any tangible benefits. And I can confirm to the world that there are none. 0. I did not sleep any better. I did not go to sleep any easier. I did not dream anymore. Nothing, absolutely nothing good happened except I was tired. It was garbage. I was like, give me my coffee back. I went back to my 15 cups of coffee a day.
Reaffirmed your
Wild
coffee.
to have that much coffee. The last time I drank coffee, I was 25.
We have one friend.
Literally.
We have one friend that drinks almost as much
Mario
coffee.
drinks
Mario.
as much as
Shout
me.
out to
And by the way,
Mario.
everybody around me loves coffee,
Yeah.
including my 11-year-old son, Tico.
Yeah.
Him and his mom got into an argument the other day because she didn't want to take him to Starbucks. He's like, what do you mean? It's like, I want some coffee. He's like, you're not having coffee at 11 years old. Anyways, but it's working for you. It's working for your body.
Correct.
Sometimes when you find a diet or a combination that hits your body well, you'll know it, you'll feel it. And you have to know your body the best.
Correct. I think there's no perfect diet for everybody.
I agree.
Everyone's slightly different.
I agree.
And that's just, and I think you are what you eat to a degree. And it also depends the mental model you want to operate under. If I wanted to operate under comfort, I certainly wouldn't eat the way I eat. I do it because I particularly want to operate under a degree of irritability and high energy and hunger. I like feeling hungry. I don't like feeling full. I like being hungry all the time.
I love that. I mean, that's the quality of people where, you know, you can tell a lot from somebody how big they think after they make money and they have some success.
Yeah.
When they make money, that's when they slow down. That's when they get casual. The hunger goes away.
Yeah.
You'll really know if somebody's hungry when they made money and they're still going. What is this guy doing still going?
Yeah.
You've already made the money. You've already had the success. Yeah. Let's transition to a couple other stories here. Sure. So all of a sudden you put in your profile, obviously I joked about it. You're the most Googled women on earth. You know, that was based on your Twitter profile. You know, Nina Turner comes out and says, if somebody says they're a woman, not a tough concept. Your response is, I'm a woman, right? You do that. And you've left it on Twitter.
Yeah.
Tell us why.
Because I am. You don't believe me?
You're a woman?
Are you misgendering me?
I have to choose to agree with you, right?
My pronouns are she, her. No, but the level of, it's all a joke, right? But there's actually a very sinister undertone to all of this garbage. And the sinister undertone is that your baseline instincts and your baseline senses are how you've always perceived the world, right? They have to attack them at some level. And they did. I mean, it's fantastic with COVID. COVID, I know we can talk about it now. It was amazing. I used to say to people all the time, who have you seen die? Do you see a pandemic? Yeah, on the news. No. Do you see ambulances rushing back and forth everywhere? Do you see bodies on the street? Do you see lines outside of hospitals? Do you see a pandemic? How a pandemic would look? Do you see a pandemic? Oh, but my friend's grandma, your friend's grandma was 96. Okay, so I'm not saying it's not sad. I'm saying she was 96. Do you see a pandemic? No, you don't. But they have just lied to you so many times that you're ignoring your own eyes. That's the final stage of the slave mind. It's the final stage of it. The final stage of the slave mind is when your eyes tell you this is green, but the news told you it was blue. So it has to be blue. So when they're doing these things, it's nothing to do with caring about the mental health of gender ideology, none of this garbage. They're deliberately attacking you and saying what your eyes tell you is wrong. Because if they can make you start to admit that your own eyes are wrong, then what other defense do you have against propaganda? If they're going to give you a lie, but your own eyes can't protect you, well, then it's over, isn't it? So all of these things they're doing, all of these things are a deliberate assault on the senses. And they do it by controlling the language. If you control what someone says, over time, you'll control what they think. You don't think what you don't say. It's very hard to live a life for 8 years, if you're lucky, and think things and never say them ever. If you think it, you're going to say it sometimes. You're going to give the idea, get some feedback on the idea, build on the idea, change the idea, whatever it is, through discussion. If you never, ever, ever discuss it, you're not going to think it. So they say, this is the truth, ignore your eyes, and you have to say it's the truth. You can't say it's not the truth. And the people who are in charge of the world, they think generationally. They have time. Right now, it's a joke. 200 years from now, it won't be a joke. 200 years from now, it'll all be fucking standard operating protocol. The grandchildren, the people who are in charge now, that's what they want. They'll pull it off in the end. Slow, incremental damage. They do it with nearly everything. They'll take all your rights away. They'll take 100 of your rights away. They'll upset you. They'll give you 99 back. We're good again. Don't worry. And the grandchildren of the people in charge of the world get what they want in the end. They think generationally. So now we're at the beginning of it. It's all a big joke, right? But especially before Elon had Twitter, when you couldn't say the truth online, when you couldn't say my eyes see X on the internet without going to jail or losing your account or getting a hate speech charge in the UK or some garbage, they're controlling what you think. And on a long enough time frame, what you think becomes true. We all believe 2 + 2 is 4. But with a hard enough psyop, if you can't say that, if you have to say it's 5, on a long enough time frame, math breaks down and everyone's just going to believe that 2 + 2 = 5. That's what happens.
You think we're going to get there?
Have you ever seen the experiment? There's a really interesting experiment with monkeys and a banana and a water spout. Have you ever seen this? They put 5 monkeys in a room. And at the top of the room, there was a banana. And when one monkey tried to climb up to get the banana, they turn on the hose and splash all the monkeys with ice cold water. So the monkey would come back down and wouldn't get the banana. And when another monkey would go to climb up, they'd splash all the monkeys with ice cold water. And what would happen over time is when a monkey went to climb the rope to get the banana, the other monkeys would jump and pull him down and hit him and teach him a lesson. Don't go for that banana. If you go for that banana, we get splashed with water. Mm-hmm. Then they'd swap one of the monkeys out. Now there's a new monkey in the room who doesn't know the game. The new monkey would attempt to climb, and all 4 monkeys would attack the monkey, pull him back down, and kick his ass. He knows if he climbs the rope to get the banana, he gets attacked. He doesn't know he gets splashed with water if he gets to that. He doesn't know the game, but he knows if I try and climb, they're going to attack me. After a certain amount of weeks, they change another monkey and another monkey, another monkey. Over time, you have 5 brand new monkeys who have never been splashed with water ever. But nobody goes to climb the rope because if they do, they're attacked by all the other monkeys. And nobody even knows why.
Damn.
That's just how it works. If you climb that rope, we beat you up. That's just how it works. That's what they're doing on a long enough time scale to humanity. There are already X amount of people on the planet. There's already a population, X percent, who knows what it is, who ignore their own eyes and repeat what they are told. You can't say that that's not what they're doing because they're already successful with X amount of the population. They've begun. The seed is there. 2%, 3%, 7%, who knows? They've already proven they can do it. Now it's just a matter of not shutting up and hammering at home. Make sure they repeat it in schools. Children are young. They believe things are impressionable. Hammer it to the kids, especially. Put it in every Disney movie. Give it.
Now we talk about that every day. I seem like we talk about that every day. Now, y'all, I let them talk for a very long time because it's a very long show. And what I'm going to do now, since we've been on this for a minute, is switch it up just for a second there. I'm going to give y'all something new to look at. Appreciate y'all staying through. If y'all not high, because I'm high, then y'all at the wrong place. But Las Vegas, Nevadians, is this what they call us? Just a little update on our little ballpark situation.
Back here in our studios, Brody Brazil, switching gears with an update on the Nevada State Senate. And you might recall that they adjourned on Thursday with no real resolution on SB 1. That is the A's request for $380 million of public funding to help them build a brand new ballpark in Las Vegas. They took a 3-day well-deserved break. I'm talking about the Nevada State Senate and Assembly, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here we are on Monday. They are back in this special session. Again, all of this is bonus time. They finished their regular session a week ago. They convened at 11 a.m. this morning. They took roll. They immediately went into recess where they've been ever since. We really don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So today that's going on. Tomorrow, there is a fan-organized reverse boycott at the Coliseum. Also tomorrow, the MLB owners' meetings, they begin in New York City for a couple days. And then later this week, if the Senate does return a yes vote, the Assembly would get their chance to go over SB 1 and take a vote of their own. But back to tomorrow night, A's manager Mark Kotsay was asked about the highly anticipated fan turnout.
Obviously, being here since 2004, which was my first year in this stadium, the bond, and you get with this group of fans and the fan base, the passion, the love, regardless, like I always talk about, of the numbers. The difference this season is in the sense that they're obviously in an uncharted territory with direction of this organization, and it's only right for them to come out tomorrow and in one aspect peacefully display their feelings towards this organization possibly moving, but in hope on our end is that they also support the players, and I think they will. It's difficult as a group when they go out there. I'm speaking from the player standpoint. It's only right that they're frustrated and they have emotion and passion about selling of the team. So you're going to hear that. We've heard that all season. But it feels good when you do hear the support. When Paul Blackburn was on the mound and they had that chant, it's disheartening to a certain extent to hear the lack of the drums. That's real. That's been a part of this culture since I was here and before. So in some way, those drummers show up tomorrow night, it would be exciting.
the drummers plan to be out here enough to, if there are too many, they're going to take over left field as well. So what might that be like?
Well, there's going to be some energy, and like I said, the energy will probably be twofold.
I don't think Las Vegas is gonna get it. I'm not gonna lie to nobody. I'm just not seeing it. It's not. I don't know. I don't want to pay nowhere near, nowhere close to no 300 nothing. What? Is this live?
Causing a dangerous situation, which
We're live, y'all.
Situation for the residents who live here.
They
who
live,
may or
we're
may not
live.
know
What's
what's
up?
happening around them.
You know, Mike, I want to bring you in on this because I would think if there was something going on that this guy had maybe somebody at gunpoint or there was some sort of immediate threat to somebody, police would
I ain't
get
never
in
seen
there.
nobody run.
But I would assume that they have
This must be the
information. That's
end.
why they're kind of holding back a little bit.
Yeah, I would make that same, guess. I would say that if they had reason to believe that this person was imminently putting somebody in danger, they would make a pretty aggressive move to get in there. I think the fact that they're not means they either just don't know and they're just kind of, because remember, the officers on the ground saw
I'm tired.
nothing. These officers got here well after the fact because of the, geography basically of where this guy ran from. So you only have the airship overhead, which, they did a great job of keeping him. And as Desmond mentioned, they're very lucky they were able to have the benefit of 2 helicopters in this situation because that's not common. It's not common that there are 2 helicopters over a pursuit. They just, happen to have the resource of a sheriff's helicopter who could stay with the car while LAPD came to the scene.
Yeah, with extra eyes. I mean, that's so crucial. And I think it's an important time to tell, viewers, if you happen to be living inside this building or if you are in this building or near this building and you happen to make any observations of the suspect, then please call 911 right away. I'm sure that's what police would advise. But right now, it's unclear what the officers are doing down there right now in terms of what the plan is going to be, whether they evacuate this entire building first or if they'll have people shelter in place. But certainly a dangerous situation if someone is armed in there.
Yeah, this is in Long Beach. So we have 3 departments involved in this. LAPD with the initial pursuit.
LA.
The Sheriff's Department got involved as well en route of this. And then Long Beach Police, of course, on the left-hand part of your screen, because this is the jurisdiction where this all ended up. So we've got multiple agencies. We've got a number of different locations. We've got multiple suspects. This is going to be a long night, if not for one department, all 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go back upstairs to Desmond Shaw in SkyCal to see if he has anything new for us. Desmond, are you seeing any movement from the officers on the ground there yet?
No, not at all. They're out with weapons drawn, and this is probably a stance that they're going to be in for some time. If this is going to evolve into a SWAT situation, which it certainly seems like it's going to. LA County Sheriff's Deputy's helicopter has left the scene, so it's now just LAPD's helicopter that is over this, and we'll see how if they're going to be sticking around this one for the duration. Now here's someone peeking around, and again, this is where we saw someone that didn't have a shirt on come out and was just kind of initially wondering what was going on with their apartment building. But in that time that we didn't see when we last saw the suspect right over here up against the fence, you have to wonder, because this door was already open, if they went inside that unit right here. It's kind of we've got at least 4, possibly 8. I think we have 8 apartments here. Look at these doors right next to each other, 4 on the bottom and 4 on top. So but LAPD, they're not going to make an approach into this alleyway and be at kind of a strategic disadvantage if they believe that someone has a gun. So this is one of those ones that could turn into a very long night, like you said, Jeff.
So Des, we are going to keep you in place there. Of course, we have Mike Rogers on the assignment desk as we'll continue to monitor this situation. Police in pursuit of armed suspects, 2 in custody. 1 ran after crashing their vehicle and ran to this location in Long Beach on 4th and Melrose. We will continue to follow that story and bring you any updates, probably dip in throughout the newscast here at 8, 9, and 10 o'clock on KCAL News as we continue to follow that story. Well, first we'll bring you some other news. New tonight, 8 o'clock, police in Irvine.
Y'all see YouTube fucking with me. Yeah. So we lost that coverage, basically. We lost that coverage. They seen that dude running. Man, y'all should see some of them comments are going crazy. I love them. It'd be cool. My chat group ever go crazy in the comments. I think one day we had a contest, a giveaway. Whoever put in the most comments will win a gift. I have to bring that back out one day. When I was looking at y'all, was somebody's perspective. They put 7 hours how Pride Month became the most hated month. That's messed up. I ain't gonna go. I will go there, but you know what I'm saying? I don't know. Just not my department to be saying that. I mean, I don't like Pride Month, true indeed, but I'm not gonna sit up here and just be the one to be bashing. Oh, here's the news you don't hear every damn day.
Take a live look here.
You don't see this every day. Okay, I'm making sure y'all can see what I can see. Hope you see what I see.
At the U.S. Capitol. Switching gears to our next story, kind of in that neck of the woods, we're going to Annapolis, Maryland. This is an update on a shooting happening in the 1000 block of Paddington Place. We know 6 people shot, 3 dead, and 3 taken to area hospitals. We do have Fox 5 DC's Melanie Aldwick. She's live there on the scene with the details for us. Melanie, good morning. What can you tell us?
Good morning. I can tell you that investigators have been here all night long, and early this morning we also saw members of the FBI's evidence processing response team here as well. So you're looking live at where the bodies were laying when we first got here around 3 o'clock this morning on the front lawn of these homes here and on Paddington Place. And the police here say that this is a very residential, peaceful family neighborhood, not a place where they come for calls of service very often. Now, what we can tell you is that family members who I spoke with this morning say that those dead are a father, a son, and a family friend. They were actually hosting a birthday party that started around 6 p.m. Sunday. And they tell me that one of their neighbors was upset about street parking. One person went to move a car, then they heard gunshots. Several ran down the street to see what happened, and they say that group was fired on as well. You'll see a large broken window at a neighbor's house, evidence markers where bullets struck, number more than 24. Annapolis Police Chief Edward Jackson, however, would only characterize this incident as an interpersonal dispute. Police describe this again as a place they don't come often, and investigators say they do believe that more than one weapon was used in this shooting, though they did not specify the details of that. Last night, people with small children were seen hurrying off the street to safety, and Annapolis Mayor Gavin Becker came out here to the scene, and he talked about a deep sense of sadness.
Issues with guns. It is the most ridiculous thing that we can do as a society. We have to do things to stop this.
Now, those in the hospital are said to be in stable condition. Again, family telling me only that they are in their early 20s and 30s. And police did say they have what they initially called a person of interest in custody. Then early this morning, they updated that to call that person a suspect and did say they had recovered at least one weapon. We haven't heard any updates yet this morning as far as an identity of that person in custody or what sort of charges may be filed. But again, still quite a large investigation here and just crazy, right? You have a family that has a birthday party and get into a dispute with a neighbor down the street.
You know why? When you have birthday parties like that, you know, you finna take up a lot of parking spots. You tell everybody in the neighborhood, hey, my daughter, my son for have a birthday party finna be on this certain day. You know, he'll apologize, but let it be known. You can let their asses know. And like, I'm not having it. Block. That's crazy.
And 3 people dead.
Starts out as a fun event and takes a very tragic turn, very tragic situation there in Annapolis, Maryland.
Mhm.
Melanie Alnwick with Fox 5 DC with the details this morning. Melanie, thank you so much.
That's crazy. That is ludicrous. I bet you're gonna start telling your peoples now. All right, for real. If y'all about to have any type of gathering, let your neighbors know. Y'all about to take up some parking spots. Okay? Let you. What is this? Okay, I hear this.
Axios has learned that Fox News sent a cease and desist letter to Tucker Carlson amid the launch of his new Twitter show, which has now garnered over 169 million views on the platform after airing its first 2 episodes.
Fox is continuing to pay their former top host and maintains that Carlson's contract keeps his content exclusive to Fox through December 31st, 2024. In response, Carlson is making a First Amendment argument for posting on Twitter and asserts that Fox has committed material breaches of his contract. His lawyers say Tucker will not be silenced by anyone. So it's interesting. When his contract was drafted, I'd be really interested in the actual contract terms, because the exclusivity provisions likely don't contemplate posting long format video to Twitter, something which wasn't even really possible until relatively recent history.
How long ago did he start with them? Was it like 7, 8 years ago? It was a very different landscape on.
I've been posting the Twitter videos, contents for a minute. Okay. Tucker Carlson come along, get a big ass contract. Oh, now we can go live and post videos and thank you, Tucker. Yeah, y'all thought I was finna hate. Thank you, Tucker. I appreciate it. I can't watch them. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. This don't seem like a real network. I mean, I hope it is. I hope they grow, which I know they're gonna grow because they're being positive and they're doing all the right thing. And this is Fox. No, I don't know. You know what, y'all? I'm finna play with The Hill. Yeah, okay. I know my stuff is ghetto. And I'm working on getting it more professional and breaking it down. But right now, I can't do it. What is this?
Good evening and welcome to ABC Action News at 5. I'm Jameson Euler.
And I'm Wendy Ryan. Thank you for joining us. Citizens Property Insurance is proposing an average 14% increase on all personal lines of policies. That means homeowners, condo owners, mobile homeowners, and renters. Remember, Citizens is the last resort property insurance provider in the state, and only those who are left with no other affordable options can sign up.
ABC Action News in-depth reporter Stasi Almos has been covering the property insurance crisis for months now. She joins us in the studio with what this means for homeowners right here in the Bay Area. Stasi?
Well, guys, right now, Citizens is supposed to be the last resort option here, but I've been covering this issue for almost 2 years. And again, people tell me it's their only option. And here's why. Nearly a dozen private companies have gone insolvent in the last couple of years. They claim due to outrageous lawsuit costs. Dozens more have pulled out of the state or stopped writing new business. And overall, Rates. Homeowners are seeing their insurance costs double, even triple, as companies try to pay their expenses. So yes, Citizens now has a record number of policies. Prior to 2020, they averaged about 400,000 policies. Today, they tell me about 1.3 million. One of those is Inda Stagg.
Citizens was my only option. No one else would touch me.
Inda Staggs lives in a quaint 1926 home in St. Petersburg.
I moved here in 2018. The insurance it doubled by 2020.
She says it went from about $3,000 to $6,000. And last year,
they told me my insurance was going to go up to almost $13,000, which was crazy.
She says the next insurance company she got dropped her within 1 month. And the only option left was Citizens.
$4,555 a year for my 1,100 square foot home.
A third of what her insurance would have been with her first insurer, but still 3 times the amount she was paying in Virginia in 2018.
I have nightmares about the insurance here.
And the nightmares are getting worse.
I'm very concerned about what's going to happen this year because I know it's going to go up maybe 15%. And I got a notice that said if another company offers you within 20%, then you have to take it.
New legislation passed in the second special session on property insurance last year makes a homeowner ineligible for Citizens if another company offers to take their policy at a rate within 20% of Citizens. It also requires all Citizens homeowners to get supplemental flood insurance, no matter their flood zone. And now the state-regulated company is asking the Office of Insurance Regulation for an average 14% rate increase.
Citizens is incredibly inexpensive. They don't want to write any business, but they're taking on a huge amount of risk. So it puts the policyholders at risk. It puts the citizens in the state of Florida at risk.
Tampa Bay insurance agent Mike Puffer says he's writing almost all of his new business with Citizens. The others have homes valued above Citizens' max of $700,000.
Even what we're seeing when we have to endorse a lot of the policies or write flood policies, it's still cheaper than if they were to just buy a standalone policy through the private market.
According to Citizens, an analysis of homeowners' rates in 2022 found their average premium was 44% below premiums charged by 9 private companies in the state. Looking at their latest data from the end of March, Citizens has about 1.3 million policies, with nearly $3.9 million from premiums and surcharges, compared to $502 million in total exposure, meaning the amount of everything they are insuring.
I'm considering leaving because of the insurance. I honestly don't know what people who have less than I do, what they're doing. This is not the United States, it's Florida.
So again, the purpose of today's Citizens Rate hearing is to gather public input and get testimony from citizens regarding those filings, many of the things that we just heard. Now, the Office of Insurance Regulation is expected to make a final decision after the public comment period ends. That'll be at the end of the month, June 22nd.
Yeah, and Stassi, it might not happen right now, but the thought of these prices going that high is going to scare a lot of people. Is there anything they can do to maybe lower the prices?
All right, my one piece of advice is storm-proof your home. So when an insurance company is looking at what they have to insure, if they have to insure an older roof, if they have to insure windows that may blow out during a storm, it's going to cost more. So try to storm-proof your home and talk to your agent about how you can lower your rates.
And we're going to hear more details about what happened inside today's meeting during a live report with our Forrest Saunders. That's coming up tonight on ABC Action News at 6.
All right, Stassi, thank you. Meanwhile, Stassi has done some extensive in-depth reporting on this very subject, the property insurance crisis across our state. You can find all of her stories in the Price of Paradise section of our website at abcactionnews.com.
I'm not moving to Florida. Hell, I thought about it. I was thinking about it. It was on my mind. I'm not doing it. All right, y'all. I held off a little bit. I'm going to go 30 more minutes. Get back into this Andrew Tate. The Andrew Tate Show. I say, if I would have put that on there, I don't think they would have let me rock this, but we rocking this, okay? And it's interesting to hear how the Matrix and how jail and like other countries, you know what I'm saying? You really don't hear other countries, really don't hear me talk about other countries for real, unless it's comparisons. But now you're getting an in-depth on it. So here we go.
Give it to the kids all day long. They grow up sooner or later. Long enough time frame. That's it. It's generational
But
attacks.
do you think that's going to work though? Because let me maybe unpack the question. So I'm from Glendale. I went to Glendale High School, hence the lawyer, right? So yesterday, a big fight broke out in Glendale. Massive, it's all over the news. So the fight was over these parents, Armenian parents, who were for 4 years are like, listen, we don't mind if you're gay, but don't teach our 4-year-olds about transgender. Don't put these books in. Finally, yesterday, big old brawl. It's all over the news. They're fighting. Armenian parents are like, we're not going to tolerate this. This is just not going to happen to us, right? Then you go to YouTube. YouTube comes back and says, hey, starting such and such, all the videos that were put up about, you know, the election and, you know, whether it was a fake election or not, we're no longer going to give a strike or take those videos down. They can stay up there, right? This is totally fine. Then you see the Surgeon General comes out, the attorney, I don't know if you saw this one here, he comes out with an article saying new Surgeon General advisory raises alarm about the devastating impact of the epidemic of loneliness and isolation in the United States. This is the same guy that was part of the camp, is now saying, hey, our epidemic of loneliness and isolation has been an underappreciated public health crisis that has harmed individuals and social health, our relationship, our source of healing, et cetera. This is the same guy that said, wait a minute, lockdown, you know, do this, do that. So the more and more arguments are coming out against even ESG. I don't know how close you follow ESG, where why are we doing this? Did you see how much Target lost? $10 billion? Did you see how much Bud Light lost? 25%, 12%? This is no longer working. Well, if you want to, like even one of the insurance companies I work with closely, it's one of our biggest one we work with. Yesterday, I see their post on Instagram. Well, because of Pride Month, we're doing this. I know the people in that company, but they just raised a few $100 million. One of the companies they gave the money to was one of these bigger guys, the Vanguard, BlackRock, and you know State Street. So when you take money from those guys, you have to have a certain ESG score. But a lot of people are now saying this is not a proven formula that it works. Stop doing it. So do you think guys like you, who are maybe in business, who are maybe in church, they're saying, Pope, what are you doing? What are you talking about? Who are maybe in the Christian church, who are maybe in different denominations, they're in the military, sitting back saying, I didn't sign up for this. So meaning successfully, do you think these guys will be able to manipulate their agendas down everybody's throat, or there's going to be certain people standing up?
Well, certainly I'd like to believe that the tide is shifting and we're starting to get some degree of victory against the matrix as a whole. I do believe that the public sentiment is shifting. However, the fight is long and it's very, very difficult, because I agree with what you're saying. Only a year ago, I would argue it completely and say it's basically over. I'm actually very impressed with the ground we've taken back with common sense. But these people operate so slowly. It's generational, these attacks. The attacks we're suffering now were started in the 70s and 80s. They take it over time. And yes, it's fantastic that those parents fought back against that school. That's fantastic. But there's a whole bunch of schools where they didn't. And who knows, okay, that particular book might be removed. A softer version will be implemented. Next year, maybe that book will come back. They have all the time in the world, all the money in the world, and they're insulated from these things. That's what's most scary. You talk about Vanguard and BlackRock and all these companies. What's actually scary about it is the people who are making these decisions are completely insulated from the consequences of their decisions. They're in Switzerland. They fly private. They don't care. You think they care about any of this crap? They'll say, oh, do this. Oh, it's caused a riot. They don't live there. They're nowhere near it. They have nothing to do with it. When's the last time you've even seen a politician? Do these people even exist? They're nothing to do with where they operate. It's actually amazing. When I was in Dubai once, I think it was about 3 years ago, I saw the leader of Dubai walking through the mall. I was like, he's a person and he just walks through the mall. I was so impressed. Imagine a Western leader walking through the mall. Never in a million years. It's just pieces of paper, private jet, vanish. All these people who are in charge of everything don't even live in these communities. I do believe that, yes, we can win, because I don't think you can fight to the best of your ability if all hope is lost. I do believe we're winning and taking ground back, absolutely. And I believe that we're doing that by purely telling the truth. What our eyes see is what's real. And we're doing it in the name of God, because you're saying Armenians are strictly religious. I think God and religion is one of the best ways you can combat these things. However, the fight is never ending, because they're never ending going to try and implement. You talk about ESG scores. It's garbage they put together. That's not going to end. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse over time. And it's kind of unfortunate and it's kind of upsetting that we still have this system where the people can be unhappy with something. The peasants can revolt to a degree. But does it even really matter at some point? You get to a point of power where you don't care about money. And then things are really difficult, right? When you control everything, you don't care about money. I mean, I'd like to actually argue. We talk about Bud Light. this Mulvaney, whatever is it?
Dylan Mulvaney.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dylan Mulvaney.
Sweetheart, yeah.
And yeah, I know we've damaged their share price, et cetera, et cetera. I would believe people who own that company or beyond that company, I don't think they truly give a fuck.
In both.
I don't think they care. Maybe they care a bit. I don't think they're losing that much sleep over it. Maybe they are a little bit, but I'm saying you get to degrees of power and levels of power where you don't care about money. I'll give you a perfect example of it. I know we keep going back to this, but it was actually a massive pivotal event in awakening so many people was the COVID scam. I said this multiple times in many different countries I visited. I said, if they cared about you, they would have left everything open, maybe put a tax on everything, extra tax percent, whatever, and built hospitals. Why didn't they do that? Why did they lock you all up? Because it's a mass compliance exercise. They want you to comply. They don't give a shit about your health. They just want you to comply. They want to test how many people comply. And people were saying, yeah, it's all about money. It's all about profit. And I said, that's actually a very optimistic way to look at it. I think that if you destroy the economy and lock everyone in their houses and destroy everyone's businesses, you don't care about money. You're beyond money. You're above money. You want power and you want control. Because once you become actually rich, you learn that the world is all just about people, right? The best things in your life are people. The best things in your life are family. Things that make you happiest are your friends. Your life experience is the best if you have a good team around you, good assistants, good helpers, good staff, whatever it is. It's all about people and controlling people. What do you want money for? To get other people to do what you want. That's all money is. I want a Lamborghini. I can't build one. He can. I will pay him to build me a Lamborghini. It's all about people. So once you get beyond a certain level of money, and there's a certain level of control you want that money perhaps can't buy, then you think, well, I don't care about the money. I want the power. I don't want money. I want them to stay in their houses. Why? Because it says so. I don't have to. They have to. Ha ha ha. It's funny. And I've said that and sat with people and said, do you really think people in charge of the world are so petty that they would lock everyone in their houses so they can laugh? I say, yeah, I actually do. I think if you were born into a wealthy family where money has precisely zero value, and you are arrogant to the moon because you're this whoever, and you believe you're God's gift, and you don't, a Ferrari ain't gonna make you happy. Who cares about Ferrari? Ferrari's free. It's pennies. You don't care about any of this shit. What makes you happy is everyone respecting you and being afraid of you. To a degree, you're gonna try and influence some power and fear. I think that's what it is. So I think a lot of these companies, when they're doing these things and they're upsetting people, et cetera, yeah, it's good that we're fighting back, but I also think part of them enjoy the show. I think part of them genuinely enjoy the show. I think part of them go, you know what? Let's do, this is insane. Let's do this. Oh, they're fighting. I really believe it. I know it's a pessimistic way to look at it, but I think they enjoy the show apart.
I don't disagree with you in regards to that. I can see that how, you see it in movies or scenes where, condescending, arrogant, and they kind of they enjoy bullying the guy that can't help himself. Like, hey, do this. Hey, clean up, pick this up. Look at this. He'll do anything that I need him to do, right? I fully believe those types of things exist. But, man, empires have fallen so many times because they thought they can get away with murder. And then eventually people said, listen, stop. You're not going to do this to me anymore. We're not going to take a stand. And typically when that happens, you said it earlier, what is really what's going on in Glendale or some of these other cities that people are protesting? Why is there an organization called Gays Against Groomers? Gays Against Groomers? What? What do you do? He says, man, I just wanted to be gay and leave me alone. I'm not trying to be, grooming kids. That's not my job. I just want to be gay. Leave me alone. We've made so much progress. These guys, I'm not that guy. I'm not this person, right? So I think the part that they fear the most, if you read Communist Manifesto, there's a book written by Cleon Skousen. I think he was like a former CIA agent for like 15 years. He wrote a book called The Naked Communist. One of the things he talks about how getting rid of God, well, they're succeeding in that area, but not fully yet. Getting rid of the family nucleus. Well, we already know what is the purpose of this LGBTQ movement. What is the purpose of this transgender? What is the purpose of, let me get this straight. This person cannot buy a gun at 13. This person cannot go in the military at 13. This person cannot vote at 18. This person cannot own a car at 13, but they can transition the most important decision of their lives. You're okay with? Yes. Now, that doesn't make sense to me. I think you said something at the beginning, the concept of being tolerant. You know what? Yeah, it's okay. We can have gays. Oh, it's okay. We can have this. It's okay. Listen, man. You've crossed the line a little bit. I think faith, family, kids, values, principles, they fear the hell out of it.
Absolutely.
And I think that community is rising up.
No, you're totally right. But you made a really interesting point there about empires falling. And this is where I kind of feel like we're entering a new stage of the world because it's never really done before. Because typically when empires fell, the world was far more polarized. If the empire fell, there was nowhere for the corrupt dictators of said empire to go. The empire's fallen, or let's say England fell. You can't, it's very hard to get exile in France. You could do it a little bit. But let's say America fell today. Let's say it completely collapsed and it fell. The people who archetyped that downfall, do you think they'd be in America? Do you think they'd be sitting there waiting to get scooped up? Do you even know who they are? Can you recognize them? What's their name? Even if you could, do you think they're in America or do you think they're skiing in Switzerland? This globalism, the whole point of globalism is that they don't care when empires fall. When you globalize the world, then you have a chessboard. I lost the knight. Doesn't matter. Bishop. Sack the queen. Who cares? There's so many things I want to say, but I don't want to die. But there's truth. This can be proven and shown even with this current proxy war. Europe and all the gas prices and the inflation rate in Europe has gone to the moon to fund this proxy war in Ukraine. Why has this happened? Because America's in charge of everything. And America has decided that Europe has to bear the brunt of the bullshit for its proxy war. You're going to have higher gas prices. You're going to have inflation. You're going to have mass civil unrest. You're going to deal with it all. And we're going to sit over here and insulate ourselves because we have the global reserve currency. And the war is going to happen over there and everyone's going to die. And we're in charge. So now you have this globalism. How can an empire fall when you have basically two camps? There's two teams now. There's two sides left. So I agree with you completely about empires falling, but I'm saying if the empires fell in days of old, the kings would be strung up. But now when the empire falls, nobody notices. It doesn't matter. We don't know who the kings are. We don't know who's in charge. We don't know where they are. They're not going to be anywhere near the trouble. That's for fucking sure. They're just going to be somewhere else. Oops. Oh, well. And do they really care? Do the people in charge of the world care if America's crime rate goes up 1,000%? Would they lose sleep at night?
I actually think they do partially because think about it. So I'm with Andrew Schultz and I'm taking your position with him. Yep. Okay. You know who Andrew Schultz is? Good guy. And he says, part of me that gives me comfort is knowing these guys are so obsessed with their money. He may be wrong. So we can debate this. Yep. They're so obsessed with their money that there's no way they're going to let America fall, because if America falls, everything else falls. So they're going to go just as much as they can to control, but not enough to get the machine to break, because they're so in love with money and power, they don't want to give that up.
Well, I hope that's true. I would love for that to be true. But my argument is that these people are already so deeply entrenched, they print the money. They'll print the new money. They don't care. If they cared about money, COVID wouldn't have happened. They closed the entire economy. I don't think they care about money. I think they control the world to a level where you want to eat? Do you want war? Like, I don't think they give a shit about money. They'll print the new money. They'll change the name of it and print the new one. At a certain level of power, I think they're so above and beyond all of our concepts of how the world works, and they don't have any interest in any of it. I don't think they give a shit. I think if you were to go to these people, whoever they are, and say, we're going to take your money away, they would just laugh at you. You think you can take my money? You think you understand money? You think you're going to damage the stock market? You think I give a shit about the share price? I think there's a level beyond all of this. And they're the ones who truly are running things, and they truly have no influence. And in fact, the harder they damage the economy and the more damage they do to money, the more people are dependent on governments to eat. That's where communism comes from, right? The more poor we get, the more you need the government just so you have food in your mouth. How can you resist the government if they feed you? You can't. So and I sound pessimistic, and I'm not pessimistic. And I do believe the answer to all of these things is free thinking and truth and God and communities standing up for themselves and changing the general consensus. I do believe that. Because to a degree, although we talk about people who run the world, to a degree we run the world. Because our tolerance level is what runs the world. There's more of us than them. So to a degree, you say, who's in charge of the world? Well, I like to say, well, we are. Because it's all about, we're the abused wife in this relationship. How much crap are we going to put up with? We set the limit. They're going to come at us with everything they can, right? We set the limit. But the problem is they try very, very hard to, one, increase our limit to the max, which is tolerance, and two, to divide us to the point where we don't ever unite long enough. I love what happened in Glendale, what you just told me about. That should be happening in every single school across America, all of them.
Oh, they would love it if you retweet the video for them and give more exposure.
I will do.
When you're saying this, I'm reading a book right now, Robert Moses. I don't know if you know who he is or not, Power Broker. This is a guy, it would be a very interesting guy for you to study. This is the guy that built New York, okay? And he came up and hated complicated person, misunderstood. The more they would push him back, the more he stood up. Yeah. The more they would say, no, this is not fair what you're doing, the more he would even say, I'm going to go even more extreme. And so if in New York you mention the name Robert Moses, there's going to be a camp that's going to say scumbag, racist, white supremacist, all this stuff. And there's a side that's going to say, this guy built a bridge, this guy did this, this guy did that. He would make it so hard for a certain community to go to the nicer community. He would put the the bridge so low that trucks couldn't go through because he didn't want the bad people to go into this. Like, he was that sharp. And one time in the book, they talk about how Robert Moses, he says, look, the one thing about Robert Moses, he could give a shit about money. He could give a shit about it. Was all about his influence over. So I agree. There's certain people that don't care about money. Yeah. They're more driven by control, influence, all of that. The part that, we're talking about the movie Fury, Vinny, and you give me this whole thing about Fury, the scene where Shia LaBeouf is reading out of the Bible and he's crying while he's reading this. And then, right, if you want to text me and then afterwards, you see Brad Pitt quotes exactly what scripture it was, but they never showed how much faith he had. Yeah. And the whole point was, I'm ready to die. Yeah. We know we're here. Yeah. This is going to be happening. We're in the attack. I think the people, there's a part about Trump. I had a girl on, Whitney Webb. I don't know if you know who Whitney Webb is. We had her on. Okay. Yeah. And we start talking about different things. And I've been having a lot of weird guests on lately and making a comparison between the Kennedy family and Trump. Pisses a lot of people off. Yeah. But those two families, forget the fact that one's a Democrat, one's a Republican. They were both anti-establishment. Yeah. They were both anti-military industrial complex. They were both anti-CIA, anti-FBI, anti all of this stuff, right? Yeah. We saw what happened with Kennedy. We saw what happened with Reagan. We saw what happened with Lincoln. All these guys were anti-establishment guys. We saw what happened with Trump. Yeah. The part about Trump that, made the other side uncomfortable is, okay, we can kill the guy. That's been the strategy for a long time. You can't really do it today as much.
You remember how we was talking about that earlier? Sorry, it's been a long time since I was talking. Everybody like, man, dang, he's alive. But we was talking about that earlier. How would you get rid of Andrew Tate? Remember that question? And he just said, now there's somebody, this guy is up in fame, and he even said, they wanted to kill Trump. You can't just kill you can't do that in this modern time and day and age. You really not. Okay, let me rephrase that. Me, you, and people that watch this show, they can knock us off real quick, real fast to the hair. Okay, we're the ants, but once you get out of that ant status and become a movement, a Malcolm X, a Martin Luther King, you know what I'm saying, of this day and age, you can't. It's hard for them to get rid of you, ridicule, but not get rid of you, make you look bad, shame you, like the TV show Game of Thrones. Shame. They shame you. But they can't get rid of you. And I'm glad that he said it too. Like, so many people want to get rid of Trump, but how can you? Well, this is them trying to get rid of Trump by shaming him.
Much because they fear one thing that they're the most jealous and envy. You know what that is? They do not want to build a martyr. Yeah. They fear building a martyr because that's the ultimate high that they want to get. They do not want to build a martyr, right? So, okay, we're going to humiliate the crap out of you. We're going to embarrass the crap out of you. We're going to publicly try to do this. We're going to come in between you and your kids. We're going to go get your daughter to be more LGBT. We're going to get her to be on this side. And we're going to pin this. That's the strategy. We're going to put the break the entire family apart, right? And he still stands up there. Yeah. And to them, it's like, what the hell do we need to do for you to, just sit down and be quiet, not willing to do it?
That's right.
Do you think, again, going back to it, more of those types of men and women who are misunderstood and complicated stories, they're not perfect, far from it. Yeah. More of those guys are the ones that are saying, Yeah, it's just not going to happen on my watch, man.
And that's what we need. And the by the very nature of being the kind of person who's principled enough to risk his own personal situation in life, if you have principles that strong, you're going to be disliked by some people. You're never going to have a person who is principled enough to take risk to his public detriment for the good of what he believes in, who's liked by everybody. That's a logic fail, right? Because he has principles which are hard lines, and people exist across the entire spectrum. So there's going to be people who exist outside of those lines. That's what I liked about Trump. He's not perfect, of course not, but he says what he means what he says. I actually disagree with him on many things, but he says what he means what he says, and that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of a man who says what he means and means what he says, because he can't be bought, because he's principled. He can't be bought. Even now, if they were to come to me with $100 million and say, we'll sponsor you with this company, it's $100 million, you just have to shut up, I'd say, no, I don't want your money. I don't want the money. I don't need money. There's nothing else to buy. I bought everything. I don't need it. My principle's worth more. So, and that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of principles. And it goes back to the original point. They're trying to remove all of our morality, all of our baseline understanding of things.
Minect is an application which allows you to take a minute to connect with influencers from all around the world. My name is Andrew Tate, and I'm available to speak directly to you on Minect.
That's how they inject you with the slave mind. That's exactly what it is. And you're right. History has always been that way. And now it's under conscious assault. I've never said this before. I've never even thought this before. This is a brand new thought for me. But I would like to think in times of old in history, perhaps everybody was the same. Everybody was principled. Everybody had parameters, but they were different parameters. Perhaps they were competing ideas. But I think in the modern world, it's not so much competing parameters. It's just people who believe in things. People who don't believe in anything besides what they're fucking told that changes every day. You have the empty brains, the slave minds, and the people who actually stand up for something. And the free thinkers. But the slave minds, you can't say, well, they believe in a different ideology, because they don't. They believe in what they're told to believe in on that particular day. It changes. They don't have any true core belief. They just repeat. I talk about the Matrix all the time, and people say, why did you choose that terminology? And I chose that terminology because it is perfectly accurate in describing exactly what is happening. The Matrix is a computer program which is designed to control your mind so that your body can be used to power the machines. That's exactly what happens when they make you watch the news, to control your mind so you continue to use your body, to work some garbage job and suffer from inflation and power the machines. Machines being soulless people who are in charge of the world. But there's also a million other different ways you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, just because it's 9 o'clock and this is the normal time that I would come on, this is my normal time of my live. I am going to cut off and just do my intro real quick, and then we're gonna get right back into this. I appreciate y'all hanging in. I mean, y'all hanging in this like a thug, you know what I'm saying? So like I said, man, go get y'all blunts, go get y'all weed, go get y'all stuck. We finna get into it. But yet again, it's 9 o'clock, and I'm just finna at least do the intro. We'll be right back. Burn live, burn live, burn live, burn live. Murray Winley bringing you the news, hashtagging these red eyes, changing the viewers. I read, keeping underage smoking on social media, killing ourselves for your entertainment. Sitting here with friends and family to start a cannabisation. Don't forget, this is, like I said, y'all, this is a cannabis podcast where it was about the news. It was about marijuana. Now they got about the news and politician and trying to make us better people and make my country great. And Andrew Tate, as a man that's been locked up for a long time, was inspiring America. I was watching some of his videos. I didn't do a lot of covering on him because, hey, the man was locked up. This video that we're watching, that everybody's been watching for the last couple of hours, it came today, so we're fresh. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people probably are watching it and dissecting it, and they're going to put that on tape. We are just going to maybe not fully watch it, but we're just going to watch it, break it down, discuss, you know what I'm saying, enjoy it together. Maybe I can't do this. I don't know. So far, I haven't got no hit-ups. Thank you for everybody participating and watching and enjoying the show. I appreciate it. I'm finna roll. You know I got to roll one for this Pacific because this is our moment, people. So let's go strong. Let's have a good discussion, a good cannabisation, brother. Share this. Hit that like button. Yeah, y'all know what to do. Y'all know what to do. Let's get back into this.
You can compare the Matrix to the real world. In the Matrix, they say anybody can become an agent at any time. If their mind is not unplugged, they become an agent. If their mind is not freed, they turn into an agent. You can see that in real life. Mention COVID to an NPC. Mention Trump to an NPC. You can sit and have a perfectly cordial, normal conversation with somebody for an hour and be fine. And you can mention one of the particular subjects, which they are programmed to hate by the Matrix itself, and they will turn into an agent in real time. And you will see them now start to genuinely, emotionally dislike you as a person. They were your friend for an hour.
Yeah.
Now they hate you. They will turn into an agent. COVID was perfect. I would sit with people and we'd all be friends until I mentioned that COVID's garbage. And now they're an agent. What do you mean COVID's garbage? My friend's grandma was 99. She got sick. Okay. Sorry. That doesn't change my view. And they change. And the Matrix is actually a perfect, absolute explanation of what's happening. And Morpheus says it. If your mind's not freed, you can be one of them. And that's what's happening. And this is why we don't have competing sets of parameters which are trying to argue about which is the best way to run the world. We have people with parameters who believe in family and love and God and tradition and taking care of yourself and taking care of others. There's people with moral standard and there's people with none. Zero. Empty vessels, agents who are programmed on any given day of what they're supposed to care about. These people can't tell me they care about things. That's what's most annoying about my position, because it's absolutely and utterly weaponized virtue they use against me. The people who hate me because, one, I truly believe, and I know this is arrogant to say, but I feel like I have to say it. There's definitely a massive jealousy implement. If I wasn't so tall and rich and good looking, it wouldn't be happening. They don't fucking like me. They don't like me because I remind them of the jock at school that took their girl. That's part of it, right? They don't like me personally. So it's true. So they try and find an attack vector. And what happens when you have somebody who's monumentally successful across all realms of human endeavor? The only way you can attack them is by calling them a bad person. They can't call me stupid. They can't call me ugly. Can't call me broke. Can't call me weak. They can't call me any of these things. So how do we attack this guy? Well, he's a bad person. How do you call someone a bad person? You weaponize virtue. None of the people, who are pretending to give a shit about women and that I'm bad to protect women have any interest in protecting women. None of these people think I better become physically strong to protect women. None of them even believe in protecting a woman in a physical scenario. None of them even believe in protecting their family. None of them donate to any charities that involve women, nothing. They're just taking the virtue and weaponizing it and attacking me with it. Me as a person who donates $25 million a year to charity to feed both male and female children. Me as a person who believes I have a responsibility to be physically capable so that any woman I'm walking down the street with is safe. I do more for women than any of these clowns would ever do. But they're just weaponizing virtue and attacking me with it. It's not even genuine virtue. That's what's so upsetting about it. These people, the matrix-minded people, have so few parameters and so few virtue. Whenever there's virtue inside of them, it's only so they can take it, weaponize it, and fire it at you. They don't give a shit about any of the issues they talk about. They don't care about race. They don't care about women. They don't care about gays. None of it. They take it, they put it in a bullet, and they shoot it at the people they don't like. It's all fake. All of it.
When you were talking about this, I wrote all these things down that we're talking about. Principled virtues, God, parents, true believers, fighters, traditions. These people they fear, right? All these people they fear. And these guys are slowly but surely starting to stand up. The scene we're talking about with Shia LaBeouf. He says, what we're doing here is a righteous act. Here's a Bible verse, I think, about sometimes, many times. This is his words. It goes, and I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send, and who will go for us? And he began crying and said, here I am, send me. Brad Pitt turns around and says, Book of Isaiah, chapter 6. For me, business, I asked this question the other day. I'm so curious to get your thoughts on this. For the longest time, when I got into business, I was, a younger guy, 21. I'm like, okay, very coachable. Tell me, what do I got to do? I'm a coachable guy. What do I got to do? I'm a coachable guy, super coachable. I want to make money. I'm sick of time of being broke. My dad's at the 99 cents. Too many heart attacks. I want to get out of this. Yeah. So I'm like, hey, Patrick, basic stuff. When you're doing business and you're talking to rich people, I'm Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. Never talk religion, never talk politics, never talk sex. Just don't talk about those three things. I said, okay, guess what? Never talk politics, never talk religion, never talk sex. No problem. We're going to business. So what do you think about the political climate today, Patrick, David? Yeah. Oh, what do you think? Yeah. Well, I think this is, but what do you think, Patrick? I don't know, quite frankly, I think I'm trying to figure it out for myself right now, but we'll see what's going to happen. Like, whatever way you're deflecting and you kind of go on your vote. Hey, what do you think about God? What is your opinion on Islam or Muslim? Yeah. Well, for me, you deflect that. Eventually you're sitting there, you're like, the people that I know at that level want to talk about those three topics. Yep. Now, sex is maybe off camera and they're kind of having fun with it, but they want to talk about politics and religion. Yep. So we, for the longest time, have been silenced. And now the ESG community, all this time they've told us to stay quiet, and they're saying what? They're talking politics, they're talking religion, and they're talking sex. Sex the way through LGBTQ. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with it? It's normal. It's normal. It's normal. No, it's not normal. Well, listen, you guys shouldn't talk about politics and sex and religion. Shouldn't be doing that. And then you see this one, during COVID, one pastor, Australia, Syrian man. I don't know what his name is, Vinny. What's his name? The Syrian pastor, priest from Australia. And he was fighting all the anti-COVID guidelines, and his stuff is going viral. He's doing this. And he's seen these messages. Some of the people that stood up, they stood up because they feared God. Okay. And for you, with your life, it's been interesting watching you go through your evolution of your faith. Pre-2022, former atheist, couple of the things you've said in the past, God isn't real because you can't prove it. Okay, kind of like that was more the Malcolm X argument, right? Bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people far too often for God to exist. I'm the center of my universe. That's pre-2020. Then gradually you start talking about Christianity, and in 2020 you made a video announcing that you were wrong about what you had said previously about God, right? Now you start saying people who are atheists are angry, bad energy people, and I don't want to be on that team anymore. And even if God is not real, the world is a better place if people do believe in God. I know God is real because there's so much evil in the world that there has to be an equal and opposite force. The devil can't exist if God does not. And if you look at the world today, it is very obvious that the devil does not exist. And I'll go to the last one here with Muslim. Quotes from you. Christians don't have a religion anymore because they tolerate everything and stand for nothing. And by the way, I actually agree with you, the fact that they're tolerating way too much. Islam is the last religion on the planet. God is something to be feared, respected, and to prove yourself to, which means you got to earn his right. It's hey, I want to earn your right and your respect, right? How did you go, if you don't mind talking about your own evolution? Because us as men, if you knew me at 25 years old, you probably would have liked to party with me. I was a selfish guy. I was a guy you would have thought I was, right? And we go through this phase of where the selfishness kind of comes down a little bit. You still need to be selfish because you need to be driven, but to the point where you're like, listen, man, I got to really do something. And then somehow, some way, God enters. What's been your evolution of your faith, and where are you at today?
Yeah, I think Newton's, it's third law, equal and opposite force. What you just said there is absolutely true. There has to be equal and opposite force to all the evil in the world. And that the equal and opposite force to all that evil has to be God. And I've talked about this at length, even with atheists. And I try and say that regardless of whether you're an atheist or not, you're thinking of God as a man in the sky, but you need to think of God as a concept as a whole. And once you do that, it's impossible to accept that he doesn't exist, right? I said to the atheists, I said, let's say there was two islands. You're shipwrecked, right? And there's two islands. Both of them are full of savages. On one island, you and your friend are shipwrecked. On one island, your friend goes and he crashes and they kill him and they And you go to another island and they want to kill you and eat you, but they don't because it's against their religion.
Mm-hmm.
Did God save your life? Who cares? Who doesn't even know the name of their God? But their God said, don't kill shipwrecked survivors. And now you're alive. So their God saved your life. The concept of God in and of itself saved your life. You owe God just for the concept of it, the idea of it. So even the idea of opposing evil as a whole is a belief in God. So you're either an evil person or you believe in God in some regard. And then once I understood that there had to be an equal and opposite force, I was raised Christian. I live in a Christian nation. Romania is actually, I think, the second or third most Christian country on earth. It's a very Christian country here. It's churches everywhere. They strongly believe. And that's where I began my journey. But I always had a very healthy respect for Islam because I understand that to a degree, to have a religion at all, you have to have an intolerance to a degree. Because without an intolerance, you don't have rules. You don't have laws. You don't have any, like you said, you have to earn God's respect. If you're a religion which is tolerant of everything, then you don't have to earn God's respect. You can be a bad person and do bad things. God loves me, so it's fine. Well, no, it's not, because that's not the point of the religion. So then you extrapolate that out, and I was sitting and thinking, well, what's the primary function of a religion? And the primary function of a religion, I don't believe is the religion exists so I can live forever. I mean, that's a nice thought. But I think on a macro level, the primary objective of a religion is to restore and contain some degree of traditional value within the society. How do you judge? Let me change the way I worded that. How do you judge the success of a religion? I don't think you can judge it by the number of people who join it, because there's lots of people who are Catholic who don't act Catholic. They don't act in any way particularly Christian. Anyone can say they're something. You can walk into a strip club and everyone says they're Christian. It doesn't mean anything, right? So how do you judge the success of a religion? Well, I like to think the best way to judge the success of a religion is how successful is it at fighting evil? How successful is it at preserving the morality of a population in X parameter, in X geographical area? So when you look at it from that way, you can't say that Islam isn't the most successful religion on earth. It's the most successful in regards to opposing evil. It's the most successful in regards to opposing its differing viewpoints. It's the most successful in regards to having people act within the limits and the confines of what it finds to be moral and good to God. It's the most adhered to. It's the most feared. It's the most respected in most forms. And then also I'd like to think—
I would say it's the most feared.
Yeah, it's the most feared. But what is respect without fear? Do we respect men we don't fear? If there's a man who could do absolutely nothing to you on any level at all, you might be nice to him, sure, because we're not bad people. But would you really respect him? If you could take his chick in front of his face, set his car on fire, and he wouldn't do a thing, you wouldn't respect him. You might be nice to him because we're not bullies, but you wouldn't respect him. Respect and fear are linked. They're not always the same thing, and you can maybe have fear without respect, but it's very hard to have respect without fear. And also, I heard someone say once that we see the world as we see ourselves. If you're a thief, you think everyone's a thief. If you're a liar, you think everyone's a liar. And I kind of agree with that. I understood that. I also like to think we see religion as we see ourselves. I like to see myself as a person whose respect you have to earn. I like to see myself as a person who has strong, rigid boundaries. I like to see myself as a person who will stand up and say, no, that's wrong. I like to see myself as a person who's not afraid of being shamed by whatever community for saying, I don't agree with that particular ideal. I like seeing myself that way. So if I'm going to see myself that way, then I'm going to naturally align with a religion that operates within that form. So when I say Islam is the last religion on earth, I say it because it seems to be the only one who will stand up and say, no, we don't care. No, that's not what the book says. No. I was raised Christian, and Muslims as a whole, we have no problems with Christians. None at all. I don't want anyone to think I'm anti-Christian, like I dislike Christians. We don't have a problem with Christians. We believe in a lot of the same things. We believe in Jesus. We put more respect on the name of Jesus than most Christians do. I just don't like the idea of people saying they're a Christian and saying, but because I'm a Christian, I can do whatever I want and throw all the rules away and none of it matters. Because once you have that level of tolerance, you no longer have a religion. Islam seems to be the last religion left with parameters. If you don't have parameters, you don't have a religion at all. So the closer I found myself to God, the closer I found myself to Islam. That's just how it ended.
And Andrew, speaking of fear, one could argue that Islam these days, certainly in the last 20 years with the war on terror, they've also been the most vilified.
Absolutely.
Right? So, you know, everything that we've seen happen with extremism and everything that's going on all over the world, how are you grappling with that? You've been a Christian for years now. Islam, everything.
And you know what? That's such an interesting question, because when I was younger, especially when I was an atheist, I would sit and think, people are really doing terror attacks and doing all this crazy stuff because, you know, they're upset over a cartoon. That's so stupid. And nobody should kill anybody. Nobody should kill anybody.
Charlie Hebdo,
Yeah,
everything.
nobody should kill anybody. Nobody should kill anybody. I'll make that very clear. But also part of me is now saying, why would you want to insult the prophet for billions of people? Why would you want to do that? I'm not saying I don't even want to make the argument against free speech. I'm not even saying you couldn't be allowed to. This is a sensitive subject. I'm just saying, what kind of person wakes up and thinks, I want to do that? I don't know. I just don't think that's a healthy mindset. Like when I see these Satanists, and they're, especially in America, and they're doing, let's keep it on Christianity, these Satanists, and they're dressing up Jesus as gay and all this stuff, like, that's not done in any kind of good faith. There's no good reason to do that. That's done with genuinely malicious intention. And what kind of people want to do that? And then the answer by extension is, I thought America was a Christian country. So how can you have a Christian country where the prophets of the religion are mocked to the highest possible levels within the confines of the country, and it's promoted? Is that a Christian country? Doesn't seem like a Christian country to me. I don't think the same thing would happen with Islam in Saudi Arabia. I can't imagine that happening. So how can you say we're a Christian country, but everyone's mocking our God on the streets? Ha, ha, ha. It's on Netflix. Ha, ha, ha. That's not a Christian country to me. So if you're not a Christian country, then where's the religion? Where the religion's supposed to enforce certain boundaries. You're supposed to at least show it respect, you know? And it's also kind of interesting because in Christian countries, there's more respect for Islam than there is for Christianity. In a Christian country, name one. They still don't do it with the Islamic Prophet.
Why do you think that is?
It's too much smoke. It's just not worth the heat. Because people believe. And I'm not advocating for violence on any level. I'm saying that even these degenerates who are trying to destroy people's belief in God, like we've discussed earlier, because they don't want you to have any baseline morality. If you believe in God, there are commandments, yes and no. That baseline morality prevents you being an absolute slave. So they're trying to destroy it. But even those degenerates who are trying to mock and disgrace God, understand there's a point where it just backfires and, ooh, this is smoke. And they don't want the smoke. And shouldn't God be feared? I'm scared of God. It's the only thing I fear. I fear God. They can put me in jail. I know I'm telling the truth. God's on my side. I fear God. So God should be feared. So once again, does anybody fear the Christian God? I haven't seen anybody scared of him in a long time. And it's kind of crazy because it's very interesting. The mass migration, all these things are leftist policies, but then also Islam is the most right-wing religion on earth. It's kind of very interesting. I grew up in England, and I grew up in Luton, which is a town which is mainly Muslims. It's a huge Islamic community. And there was a bunch of English people who were complaining about there's too much immigration, we're losing our culture. And I understood their point absolutely. But these are the same people complaining about all the left-wing LGBT in schools and all these issues. And I was like, the only allies you have against this are the Muslims. They're the only allies you have in any of this. The Christians don't protest against any of this stuff. There's very few Christians who will get up off their ass and complain. In fact, I saw on Twitter yesterday, one of the churches was lit up in rainbow. I have nothing against gay people. I don't care. And that's actually another point I want to make into about this thing. I think most people don't care, and I think that bothers them. Have you ever had an argument with a girl, and she's like stropping around the house, she's huffing and puffing, and you just don't give a shit? So she has to keep upping the ante till you eventually go, what's the problem? Because she tried the low-level stuff, and you didn't care. I kind of feel like this has a remnants of that. I'm gay, cool. I want to get married. I want to wave my dick in your kid's face. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I feel like they tried to annoy us, and we're like, we don't give a shit. Do whatever you want. Be a person. We don't care.
Point.
And now they're like, okay, well, we have to get to a limit where they have to react. Yeah. We want attention now. We want them to care about
What's the right move on that?
Well, that's the point. You know, it's difficult. Because there comes a point where you simply have to address it, and now you have to oppose it. And this is sorry to interrupt you, but this is why they're so careful and so clever with what they do. They package it all together. LGBTQ. I would argue. I don't know what Q is. Firstly, sorry, I don't know what Q is.
Questioning.
Q. All right. I would argue that G and T are very different things.
Beyond.
A gay man and someone who's chopped the dick off are very different things.
Completely.
So they package it all together. So now, because the spectrum of your enemy is so large, you have people who are fully this way. Mm-hmm. You have people who we accept and are normal in society. We have no problem with gay people. And they put it all together. You're an enemy of all these people. And they complicate the argument and they mix it all together. And now you're a bigot.
And really, you just want your kids to be left alone. Really, you just want to leave the children alone. Of course. All you want to do is leave your kids alone. And then it's like, okay, I'm now raising children. I have more children than most people would believe. How do I protect my children from this insanity? God. Which God can protect my children? Allah, Islam. I'll move them to Dubai or Saudi Arabia, and none of this will happen. Can I trust a Christian nation? Some of them. Romania is a Christian nation, and to a large degree, they oppose quite a lot of this stuff. But they're also NATO, and they're also EU, and they also rely on bailouts and grants and money. And on a long enough time frame, even in the 7 years I've lived here, I have watched certain attitudes change because money buys influence and power.
So Andrew, not to cut you off, how much of you converting from Christianity to Islam is actually the belief in God versus the societal pressures that are facing children? Because it seems like it's a little bit of both.
For you to believe in God, you have to respect him. How can I believe and put my life in the hands of someone I don't respect? And I'm going to respect a God which is feared.
Yeah, but it's a vertical relationship, right? It's not a horizontal. If you base it horizontally, they're going to disappoint you. If you think about, if you're going to believe, let's go believe Prophet Muhammad, his teaching, and let's go believe the Bible, NIV, and Jesus, Father, for God so loved the world that he gave us, you gave your son for me. Let's say that's true. And you're doing it based on faith. Who would do such a thing for me? What a level of sacrifice for you to do that. Who am I for you to be so worried about me? If you look at it from that angle, it's not necessarily coming from a place of fear. It's coming from a place of grace. It's coming from a place of love. It's coming from a place of, absolutely, a different feel. Because I do believe the part that upsets me is the fear aspect, that they're allowing others to mock your God, to mock Jesus, to mock whatever religion it is you're a part of, and you're kind of like, oh, they're just funny, man. No, it's not funny. You just crossed the line. Like JC has that one line where he says, don't tell me why what the guy said about me. Tell me why he was so comfortable saying it to you.
100%.
You tell me why he said comfortable to you. So I think that's the part about faith. I understand when you're saying the fear and the respect side. So that's the part where fear is needed. I totally agree. Yeah. But the part where you were making a point about LGBTQ, you're like, I don't even know what Q stands for, is questioning. And then you're like, well, gay, okay, cool. Yeah. Trans, listen, man, spectrum. And he said if we were to say which religion's the far right, it's going to be Muslim. Totally get it. They're on the far right. Christian today is kind of going center left today. Like they're kind of being soft right now. Okay. So if I want to raise my kids, I'm going to take my kids to Dubai, and I'm going to take my kids to Saudi Arabia. Why? Because I'm defending against some of these immoral philosophies that they have. Yeah. I don't want to go there. I actually understand that argument.
Yeah, and I want to make one more point. I do believe there is one God, and I believe there's many different paths to God. And I am not a religious scholar, and I'm not an expert on Islam. I'm doing my best, and I'm reading the Quran as often as I can. And it does say that Christians on the day of reckoning will see how close they were to the truth. And we are allies. We are not enemies in any regard, Christians and Muslims. And I do believe that the idea of Christians and Muslims shaking hands and saying, let's put an end to a lot of this garbage would be fantastic. I'm not anti-Christian in any regard. I just found myself, as I became more and more religious, seeking and looking for a faith which not only I could be proud of, but a faith which was guiding in regards to, I don't know what a Christian would answer to certain questions nowadays. What does a Christian answer to? I'm a transsexual and I want to show your kids my genitals. What's a Christian? Well, a Christian's supposed to say no, do they? I know what my Muslim friends would say. I don't know. If you're a Christian, I don't know how you're supposed to act. I don't know what you're supposed to adult. I don't get it anymore.
The true believer says
the true believer. The true believer. Yeah. But how many are true believers? I don't know. I see all over Twitter, all these churches are losing their minds. It seems very complicated. Islam seems very, very simple. You know what's right, you know what's wrong.
I have a question regarding, we talked about tolerance and acceptance. The other end of that is extremism. Yep. So I'm a Jew, Christian, newfound Muslim, respect, look at us all hanging out here.
Yeah, it's the beginning of a joke somewhere.
So we're talking about accepting I have gay friends, I have lesbian friends, I have bisexual. Yep. The T stuff is what it's kind of like, all right, what's actually even happening here? I'm not this is not my wheelhouse nor any of our wheelhouses, but one could argue that, on the opposite end of the acceptance and the tolerance is absolute extremism. And I'm sure the allies of the LGBT will point to Islam and point to the Middle Eastern countries and point to the North African countries that have Islam as their religion and say they are the most extreme when it comes to LGBT. They say that it should be illegal to be gay. And in some countries, you should be killed if you are gay. I'm just pointing out stats.
You're right. And it's a super interesting argument because I will sit here and say that I guarantee in most Islamic countries, there are gay people and I guarantee that they have gay relationships and nobody cares as long as they're not trying to inflict on the children. It's illegal to walk down the street and do indecent things in front of children. But I guarantee if you were gay in a lot of these countries, privately, nobody would care because they're trying to preserve the family unit. And to a degree, you have to always protect innocence. When you were talking about extremism, I would be friends with a gay person. Yes, I'm a Muslim, but I would be friends with a gay person because if a full-grown man decides to make a decision, it's his decision to make. But I must protect innocence as a man, so I must protect children. If two full-grown men decide to have a fight, let them fight. If a full-grown man decides to pick on a kid, that's unacceptable. So I must protect innocence. So I agree with the extremism point, but I have no problem with full-grown men doing what they want to do. Maybe some Islamic scholar is going to watch this and get mad at me. I don't have a problem with gay people and being friends with a gay person. I don't care. My problem is when you take a person who's unarmed, who's innocent, who is programmable like a child, and start inflicting your worldview on them. That is disgusting and it's immoral. That is unfair and it can't be accepted on any level. And that's the reason homosexuality is genuinely outlawed in these countries. Not because they fear what two full-grown men are going to do. They fear what's happened in the West. So two full-grown men are going to purport on the minds of children which aren't theirs. That's what they're afraid of.
I don't know if you saw the interview. CNN is interviewing this in Africa. And I have the video. I don't want to play the video. Obviously,
the leader.
Yes.
And he's talking about democracy.
He says democracy says, look, you can do whatever you want to do. He says, what do you think about gays? And his reaction was like, what do you mean? What they do? I don't agree with what they do. You think that's okay? Anyways, he's given his argument, right? And the lady's reaction is like, how could you? Says, look, you keep your beliefs to you. Do not bring it to our country here, right? The challenge goes back to, remember how you're like the girl that you're dating is like, so what happened? I asked you to bring the oranges from the store. How come you didn't bring it? Yeah, I forgot. Hey, so how about this? And that's why you love your mom more than you love me. And you're like, oh, shit, you're getting around them. And now there's a fight, right? Okay. Well, is the mistake being too tolerant from the beginning? Is the mistake being too accepting from the beginning? Is the mistake of, like the fear when I talk to Second Amendment guys and the fear about, what's wrong with them doing background checks? What's wrong with them doing this? He says, look, that's how it starts. You give them the background checks, then they're going to come for everything. Oh, you're over-exaggerating. No one's coming for your guns. Well, you also said 20 years ago, Hillary Clinton, marriage is between a man and a woman, and the sanctity of marriage 20 years later. So that is the fear where one must watch this as a case study. Say somebody starting a new country and saying, look, here's where we stand. These are the laws we're not touching. We're not going to be doing X, Y, Z. You've been too tolerant, and now you're paying the price for it, and now you're reacting to it.
And that's exactly why you completely nailed it. If you give an inch, they take a mile. And that's why I think in a lot of these countries, they have it's officially illegal. They're actually quite tolerant of it, more than you'd believe. I'm telling you, you can go to Jordan and your waiter will be a bit fruity. You can tell. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody gives a shit, right? But they have it officially illegal to prevent it ever bleeding out into actually affecting the mindset of society. You can do what you want, you're a full-grown man, but society is based on family, traditional family values. That's how our society is based. That's how we show ourselves to the world, and that's not going to be affected or changed.
I was going to say that's why you see you talk about the collapse of Western society, specifically America. You see decline in values. Wall Street Journal came out with that article that said family values plummeting, religion plummeting, being a social, being a community organizer plummeting. Everything's plummeting in America other than money. People are focusing on money.
Minect is an application which allows you to take a minute to connect with influencers from all around the world. My name is Andrew Tate, and I'm available to speak directly to you on Minect.
So it's interesting while you're talking about this whole religion thing, while you're in, who has reached out to want to support? We talked about this last time briefly. Being a Muslim yourself, have some of the most powerful Muslims reached out, trying to help out, figuring out a way to get you out?
Yeah, absolutely. They certainly have. And also the amount of mail I got from Muslims around the world was completely incredible. When I was in the cell with Tristan, he said, well, I'm Christian. Nobody's written to me. Yeah, so it was kind of amazing the support that you have from the brotherhood, and you certainly feel part of the family, and I've had a lot of support from them as a whole. It was Ramadan at the time I was in jail, so my first Ramadan was in jail. So that was certainly interesting because you eat when the sun goes down. And my meal came when the sun was up. So I'd have to cover it up and try and hide it from cockroaches and wait for the sun to go down and then eat it cold by myself. But I felt like, if you're going to do it the first time, you may as well jump in the deep end and do it hard. So I did that, and that was an experience. And jail as a whole, I mean, there's so many stories I can tell. There's so many different ways I remember it. There were times I laughed. I will sit and say some of the best days of my life were in jail.
Get out of here.
Yeah. And some of the worst days of my life were in jail. But there were days where me and Tristan, when we were finally in the same cell, there's times we laughed like we've never laughed before. I'll sit and admit that's absolutely not really true. I feel like if you're going to be the kind of person who strives for an exceptional life, which is what I am, I think I'd be a coward if I said, I want an exceptional life, but I only want it to be exceptional in a good way. I don't think that's genuine. I want an exceptional life. Exceptional means away from the norm. And away from the norm means flying your Bugatti on a jet to Dubai and taking your own plane to meet it there. And it also means a Romanian dungeon with cockroaches on New Year's Eve. They're both exceptional experiences. And the times I was with my brother and it was just him and I, we truly had some genuine days where we laughed like we always laugh. Me and him laugh and have fun on a private jet, and we laughed and had fun in a Romanian prison cell because that's just who we are. And I also have to give my brother some credit while we're here. I would like to state that I absolutely, genuinely believe I have the best brother in the world. And I'll tell you why. I always knew I had the best brother in the world, but he proved it in jail. And I'll tell you why. My brother was put in jail for being my brother. He hasn't said any videos. He hasn't said anything on the internet. He hasn't said any of the things I've supposedly said. He's never, the Matrix isn't attacking him. The BBC doesn't print about him, nothing. Why was Tristan Tate in jail? Because it's Tate brothers. So they just took him and threw him in a cell. Now, what's interesting is, when I got out of jail, so many people near me got heat. All business partners got heat with the tax. They got hit with like tax paperwork, and they were calling everyone who's ever known me, and ex-girlfriends got heat, and all these people got heat. And some people complained, some people didn't. But some people were like, oh, since you've been in jail, it's been so stressful for me. The media's outside my house. I'm like, stressful for you? I was in jail. What do you want me to do? And people were complaining at me. And as these people started to complain, I sat there, I said to Tristan, you got thrown in jail purely for being my brother. And never for a fraction of a second did you even moan. Not even for a fraction of a second did he say, oh, they only put me here because of you. Why am I here? I'm innocent. This has nothing to do with me. Nothing. In fact, he said the absolute opposite. He said, I am so glad I went to jail with you. I would be furious if they sent you here by yourself. If they're going to lock you up, they better lock me up. And there was a time, about 2 months in, because there's less media pressure on Tristan, they were talking about releasing Tristan first. And he was saying, no, I won't leave without Andrew.
Going down with the ship.
I won't leave unless my brother leaves. Wow. I won't leave. And he was telling the guards, I won't leave. Keep me here. I'm not leaving. And they said, the judge says you have to leave, you have to leave. He goes, then I'll stand outside the gate. I'll sleep outside. I ain't leaving this jail. And our lawyer said, well, we can make an appeal to just release you because there's less media scrutiny around you. And Tristan's like, no, Andrew's in jail. I'm in jail. Refused to leave. He was adamant he had to stay. That's a brother for me. And it was the same for me. I said to Tristan, if they came into me and said, Andrew, go home, I'd be like, no way. Tristan's in jail. I'm in jail. We're in jail together. He never for a second complained, never bitched, never moaned. And he was only in jail for being my brother. And then I come out and there's other people, oh, they sent me a piece of paper, blah, blah, blah. You're moaning? It's unbelievable. You truly learn, like I said, jail confirms everything you already knew about the world. And you truly learn who's on your side and who isn't. And that's good to learn, but it's actually crazy. The larger psychological analysis of it all, everyone lives inside their own minds, right? So it's kind of crazy. I came out of jail, and some of the first messages I got from people was them complaining about the problems me being in jail had given. Like, you think that wouldn't happen, right? You think, oh, you come out of jail, people would be like, oh, are you okay? They're like, oh, you're okay? You're out now? Okay, yeah, well, listen, Mo. You'd be amazed. You'd be amazed. And I'm like, I was in jail. What do you want me to do? Yeah, that sounds unfortunate. I was in your jail cell. What do you want me to do about it? It's kind of crazy how much everyone's kind of self-interested. So it's been a learning curve, and you learn a lot about a lot of different people, and your circle gets smaller. And I think that's probably one of the reasons God put me in there, to just learn a lot and make my circle smaller. And you just have to listen to him and pay attention to it and say, okay, right, you're off, you're off, you're off, you're on, you're on, you're on. But my brother, I have to give him credit, because I tell you, I also think me and Tristan are one of the best teams in the world because we have different roles inside of our brotherhood. My role is to be concerned and to panic. Not panic, that's the wrong word. I never panic. My role is to be concerned and try and fix the problem. I'm in jail, pacing up and down. How do we get out? And Tristan's role is to not care. And together, that helps us achieve the objective best, because when we really need to get out, I'm in charge. His role is to not care. Sometimes when it was at the height of frustration, I needed his superpower. Tristan's superpower, and this is his superpower for life, is he is the master of not giving a fuck. We would go to court. We would go to court. Imagine this. You're in jail, right? Weekends were the worst, because the TV was worse on weekends for some reason. Like you had like 3 channels. The TV, the weekends were the worst, and you could hear out the window everyone having fun. I hated weekends. So when a Friday would roll around, I'd say, okay, Tristan, we just have to zen away the weekend. And on Monday, there's court. We just have to zen away the weekend. So for the weekend, we just sit there staring at the wall. Intrusive thoughts, you can't sleep, all those things you're trying to get out your brain, just sitting in silence because the room's tapped, just staring at the wall, just staring at the wall. And you think Monday would never come. And Monday would eventually come, right? Or Sunday night comes, and 8 a.m. on Monday, they're going to take you to court, and they might let you go home. They might let you go home. You've done nothing. This person in this room can decide if you go home. And it's Sunday night, and you can't sleep, and you're awake all night long. There's no clock, but you just the seconds feel like hours. You're just sitting there. Eventually, 8 a.m. comes, put you in handcuffs, walk you to the court. You walk in there. Everyone speaks Romanian. Don't have a clue what's going on. Everyone's just talking at each other in Romanian. Then they say, you'll get the answer in 3 hours, go back to jail. When I went back to jail, I was sitting in the room. I was like, do I pack to go home? No, that's too optimistic. Okay. But you're nervous. You're anxious. Am I going to go home? Is it over? Do I get to go home? I called the lawyer. Do you have an answer yet? No, no answer yet. Okay. Sitting there. I can barely sit still. Tristan finishes court, walks straight into the room. It's a matrix attack. It's bullshit. I'm going to sleep. And went to bed, clean asleep. I was like, how the fuck are you asleep? He didn't care at all. He just went straight to bed. And then when he woke up like 6 hours later, matrix attack? I'm like, yeah, you thought so. He just rolled back over. Didn't care.
But it's perfect for a guy like you.
But that's what you need. I need that.
I agree.
Because if I had someone else next to me as hyped as me, I would have gone insane.
I agree.
I need someone like him who's just like, he had the superpowers like, bro, I love jail. Jail's great. Look, we got coffee. I love jail. None of my women are messaging me. I love jail. I'm telling you, I had 45 minutes on the phone a day, and I used all of my minutes. Tristan never made a single phone call from jail.
Get out of here.
Not one. I was like, Tristan, do you want to speak to anyone? Nah. Sit there watching Romanian news. Didn't give a shit. Like bulletproof. But the only reason he's so bulletproof that way is because he knows I'm doing the absolute best the other way. He couldn't be that way if I wasn't trying to get us out, because then he would try to get out. You need the yin and yang. So like when it was chill time, it was his mental frame. And when it was how do we get out of here, it was my mental frame. But Tristan's superpower is genuinely not caring. I can't explain the level of how much it didn't affect him. He didn't bother him at all. I didn't see him sad, nothing. He was smiling. He didn't care.
You consider yourself a stoic. How much more stoic is he than you?
I just think we have different roles, and I think we've evolved into them over the time, because it's not just jail, it's with everything. That's what we are with everything. If there's a business problem, I'm the one who's like, shit, we have to fix this now, shit. And Tristan's the one like, Andrew, you are so ridiculously rich, chill. But we need that. We need both, right? But he couldn't be that chilled if I wasn't the way I was, because he wouldn't be successful. Totally. So you need the opposites. Yeah. So everyone goes, oh, you and your brother are so close. We're so close because we're actually very different people. But yeah, he was amazing in jail. And even afterwards, I still struggle to sleep. He sleeps fine, because I think my experience of jail was a far more stressful one, but I adopted that. Now, I'm not saying I couldn't have done what Tristan did. I could have done what Tristan did. If I were to go into jail and say, your MO is to not care, I could not care. But my MO was, how do I get out of this matrix attack? So I was the most stressed I've ever been in my life. So that's carried over. So I don't sleep. He sleeps fine, but he slept fine in jail. So why wouldn't you sleep fine now, right? So yeah, it was interesting, but I have to give him props because it's amazing to have that level of clarity. And he said things which were absolutely and utterly true, things I already knew, but it was nice to hear.
I want to ask you a question on this. So I have 2 boys, right? And one day they're going to watch this. They're not going to watch it right now. They're 11, 9, but they're one they're going to watch this, right? And in school, you know, I'll go and the kids that are, you know, 11, 12, 13, they're like, you Andrew Tate, you know, how was that interview? Oh my God. So 11-year-old kids are watching these types of content, but that's pretty wild where they're at. But here's a question about brothers. There's a lot of brothers out there. As a father, there's certain principles I'm teaching them, okay? One, if you can speak from the idea of how your bond was built based on a man, your father, Emery, injecting certain values and principles on the two of you. You guys better do this. I don't want to see this. And then which part of the code did you guys create? Because there's friendship, but there's brotherhood. There's a very different story.
Absolutely.
How was that developed?
Yeah.
Before he get into that, I've been quiet for like, 40 minutes, probably less than that. I've been quiet for a minute. Y'all know what we got to do. Y'all know what time it is. We got to switch off real quick. Go off into some other news. Some other shit. I ain't even ready for no other news either. Okay. So what can we find real quick? This gonna do. This gonna do. This is what we do. This is what we do.
They wouldn't abandon conservatism, they'd abandon democracy. And what we're seeing from some of these calls to violence coming from some of the more extreme members of the right wing in this country is an abandonment of democracy, and that should frighten everyday Americans.
This video is brought to you by Angel Tree Camp. Angel Tree Camp, ladies and gentlemen, we've already sent 570 at this point. Americans are skeptical of this investigation into Trump, and I think it does create a division politically. It's like if you do not have a solid reason to go after your political opponents, you're just creating massive amounts of distrust and division. I'm telling you, honest to God truth, if Hillary Clinton was in prison for what she did, I wouldn't even bat an eye at them indicting Trump on what he's doing or what he had done or allegedly did. I would be like, oh man, hey, the government ain't playing with you. You take documents and you ain't handling them documents right, you go to jail. But to see that Hillary Clinton did the craziest stuff that any human being could ever. Hillary Clinton what she did was way worse than what we are giving credit to. Like, we don't know what she had in those 30,000 emails that she deleted. We have no idea. Now, a wise man or a man with intelligence would know or understand that there was a reason that she had a private server in her house that the United States government didn't know about. And she was doing business on that server. There was a reason. Stevie Wonder can see that there's a reason. Nobody in their right mind would even think to have a server in their house. You work for the United States government. You don't need a server in your house. If you have BlackBerry phones from the government, they have servers that are encrypted for you to use. But you create one in your house and you're sending and receiving classified information through a server that the IT person has no security clearance. He's the only person managing that server. And we know that she was doing dirty deals with foreign governments. That's why she had the server. So she can run a shadow government. It's not even a question. If you were asking yourself the question, well, I don't know, is that true? You're asleep behind the wheel. There's not even a question whether Hillary Clinton was trying to run a shadow government from her house. That's why she would be sending and receiving classified documents on a server that she had in her house. But yet, our government just look over that. And we see what she did in Benghazi. And we just look over it like it's no there. And I blame Donald Trump to a certain degree, because why didn't Donald Trump go after her? Why didn't the Trump FBI, the Trump DOJ go after Hillary Clinton? You know why? Because we don't want to arrest a political opponent. Man, screw these people. Because as soon as you get in the bind, they got you. And they're going to ram it down your throat. Let me go with the infamous, I won't say infamous, the flat out mindless Hakeem Jeffries. Roll clip 2.
The right wing in this country wants to end Social Security and Medicare as we know it. They want to strip away reproductive freedom. They want to undermine the right to vote and believe that voter suppression is their pathway into maintaining power. They want to cut taxes for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected, while at the same time trying to undermine middle-class folks, those who aspire to be part of the middle class, the poor, the sick, and the afflicted. Their policies are out of step with the American people. And that's why they've been losing elections and underperforming as they did in the 2022 midterm elections. And so many of us have long been concerned, Rev, and you've been a leading voice in this regard, that if right-wing folks in this country concluded that they could no longer win elections democratically, it wouldn't abandon conservatism, they'd abandon democracy. And what we're seeing from some of these calls to violence coming from some of the more extreme members of the right wing in this country is an abandonment of democracy, and that should frighten everyday Americans.
I hope that Hakeem Jeffries go to hell and burn for all the lying that he's doing. And of course, I don't mean that literally, because I'm not the one to tell you if you're going to hell or not. It's really God. But I'm saying that to emphasize.
That's why we should stop saying that.
And people
We
who
should
literally
stop
lie to
saying
your
that.
face. And this is exactly why, and everybody knows this to be true. Just look at the black community. This is why we so messed up, because dummies like Hakeem Jeffries is an example of in encouraging black people to support Democrats. And he got a lie about the whole Democrat experience. To say that Republicans are trying to thwart reproductive rights it's a lie from hell. Only evil, demonic people who hate America, hate God, and love power more than they do people would ever say something that's stupid. Reproductive rights, what does that even mean? Abortion? Also, you don't want to use the word abortion, because you understand what the connotation is behind using the true word, abortion. You decide to use reproductive rights. Not a single Republican, what'd you say? Reproductive freedom. That's what it is. Reproductive freedom. These people he can't even say reproductive rights. You got to go reproductive freedom. They go down a slippery slope of stupidity to trick you. If they were honest, they would say abortion. And we all know that nobody's trying to thwart reproductive freedom. They're trying to keep the Constitution in lockstep and not allow something that's not constitutional to be protected as a constitutional right. Hold the phone. I'll be back after the break.
Okay. We got that out the way. I'm just playing. We always, told y'all, everybody gonna put their little 2 cents about that Trump stuff, boy. That's what they gonna do. We're gonna knock out this last 10 minutes. And we're gonna finish up tomorrow. We're gonna let him finish this question off too.
So my father, and I have endless stories about my father. A lot of people who dislike me would call him an extremist. I don't think he was an extremist. I truly believe I had the best father on the planet. And from a very young age, he made it clear. He said, look, you're Tates and you're going to have enemies. You're going to have people who are against you. Your best bet is to be a team. So whenever me and Tristan would fight, which happened, we got put in a room together and we had to sit in that room. And my dad would say 3 hours or 4 hours in silence. He'd sit us down in the room, here, looking at each other and say, if I hear a noise, I'm starting the time again. And we'd have to just imagine, when you're a kid and you fight and you're furious and you're so mad. And then you end up sitting across from the person you hate. Silent. Because you make a noise, dad gets mad. And dad's outside, right? So just sit there, 2 hours, don't make a noise. We had to stare at each other. And over time, we thought every time dad was home, we just stopped fighting because it wasn't worth it sitting in this isolation, weird, silent stare thing. Because that's what happened on repeat. It happened like 5 times and we just stopped fighting. We'd fight all the time when mom was home. And when dad would come home, we'd literally just look at each other like truce. Like, we don't want to sit and do this thing we had to do. Yeah. So we became a team. And then I think it evolved from there because there's always been a hierarchy. I am the older brother. I'm the bigger brother. He does respect me for that. We both have opinions, but it can be vetoed by me in the end. And we have our specific roles. My specific role is I'm the one who takes the most action. I'm the one who over worries. I believe, especially in business and many other things, I say it to all my staff. I say react. I said react fast, react early. Like panic early. Like panic now. I don't believe in waiting for things. It's just not who I am. I can give you a million different examples. If my email processor, this happened just before my cancellation, said, oh, we'll put your account under review. You'll have an answer in 72 hours. As soon as I get that email, within 3 minutes, I'm like, get a new one. Get a new one. I've never waited for anything in my life and it worked. I've never waited and it worked out fine. Ever. Every time it should cancel. Every time it should delete it. Every time so I'm like, no, get a new one now. Just get a new one. I need today's email out. Get a new one. We can't get a new one. No one will accept us. Build one. So in a day, we built our own. Like I'm the panic fast and early guy. Tristan's the complete opposite. And that makes us a perfect synergy. And I super need him and I need his energy, especially in jail, man. He was fantastic in jail. He was like, Andrew, I'm like, what? He goes, if when you were 18, they told you could be one of the richest, most famous men on earth with street cred in every single city that knows how to speak English. All you had to do was sit in jail for 2 months. Would you have taken it? I was like, yeah. He goes, and what the fuck do you care for? So true. I would have taken that. He goes, I know he used to say that, what kind of man hasn't been to jail? That's what he's saying. He used to say, what kind of man hasn't been to jail? He loved jail. He was loving it all the time. He goes, what kind of man hasn't been to jail? Of course I've been to jail. I'm just a jail. Of course I go to jail. Like he didn't care. And his energy was amazing to tap into. But we both understand that neither of us could be us without the other one's polar. And that's why we live together. That's why we'll always live together. I've had a lot of like women try and say, why do you still live with your brother? Why don't you want to live with me? And I try and explain to them that 1, I don't think I can be my most competitive without him. 2, I'm most emotionally stable with him. I like the idea. I'm most competitive with him. I'm my best version of me. If it doesn't matter if I have to go into a fight, doesn't matter if I have to run a business, I'm better with Tristan by my side than I would be by myself. And 3, my ideal family life, even my ideal family, the way I live my life now, is very much more like a clan than a nuclear family. I like me, my girl, my kids, Tristan, his girl, his kids, my cousin, his girl, his kids. I like this idea of lots of people. I like that. I like that feeling. So girls say to me, well, you don't want a family. Like, no, I want a family bigger than you want. I just don't want to just sit with you. I want a lot of people around me, and I think it's better for that. And I think it's better for the children, especially. Also, I think they enjoy it more. But yeah, I've got the best brother on the planet. I truly do. And this is why I'm saying some of our best days of our lives are in jail.
I was going to ask you that. You guys live here in this compound. It's an amazing place. I was going to ask you, you kind of just answered it, but you foresee yourself living with your brother the rest of your life?
1,000%. 1,000%. I can't imagine not wanting to live with Tristan. If you want privacy, you have privacy, right? We have a big house. So it is what it is.
On one wing,
yeah,
he's on the other wing.
It is what it is. But I can't imagine him not being around. If there's a problem, I just shout his name, or I just can't imagine it. And I know I'm my best self. Also, there's the overall male competition, the masculine competition that exists between us and between all men. So we live currently here. We got me, my brother's personal trainers here. We got camera guys here. We got war room guys here. We got loads of guys here, but I can give you a million examples. There was a record set next door of a gym, and there's a stair machine, and there was a record set of 188 floors within a time frame. I came along and smashed it with 198. I only held the record for 45 minutes because someone beat it with 202. As soon as the record's beaten, everyone gets pissed off and puts their trainers on, puts their shoes on. As soon as it's beaten, everyone gets mad. Who beat it? Who beat it? And everyone goes and did it. And that's how you push yourself to the level you never thought you'd be able to push yourself.
202.
202 floors in 30 minutes. Good luck.
230 minutes.
No, that's what that was beaten with. Now it's 222. It's been beaten again. I don't know if I'll ever get to that. But I'm still 198. I got to try again. But the point is, when you have men around you, there's that natural masculine competition, and that's what drives you. If you're going to be the best version of yourself, even if you're a boxer training for a fight, you train with a team. You train with other boxers. You train with other boxers or other trainers.
if you're on a football team, you're pushed by your team. I think life should be the same, right? Imagine you took the normal average man and you moved him into a house of 5 people, and you had a philosopher and a fitness expert and a hypnotist, whatever it was. That will make him a more competitive person overall, because he's trying to compete with all the other people who are on his level. You don't want to take bitch position. So I don't like the idea of my life without masculine competition. That's why I'll always say to my brother.
And if you met a girl one day who says, Tate, I want to have your babies live with you, but it's kind of weird that your brother's here, what would you say to her?
Yeah, a few of them have said that. I offer some degree of compromise. I'm like, look, we can have our own house separate if you really want, but I'm going to be spending a lot of time at that other house, including nights over. I want to stay with where my brother is.
So you would compromise a little bit, but he's going to be living next door or with you.
100%. And I don't think, and that may be unusual in the Western world. I don't think that's unusual in many places.
I love that, by the way.
Well, you talk about this all the time.
Oh, you don't even know how much I love that. Yeah, I love that. To me, as a kid, that was a dream. Like if you could, right next to each other, there's a family in our community, billionaire family. They live right next to each other. The oldest son has the biggest house, 12,000 square feet. Then the youngest son has the second biggest house, 8,000 square feet. And the parents live in a 6,000 square foot house right next to each other.
Absolutely.
Okay. The 2 boys have 4 kids. The 8 kids are always together.
Absolutely.
What a great environment.
Absolutely.
It's a dream environment.
Absolutely.
I can't see how a person wouldn't buy into that, the benefits of it.
And there's also benefits to the relationship, because I think you have a better relationship with your woman if she can go and talk with other women and be with women, and I'm with guys, and then you're together sometimes and you can split it out. It's better for everybody. This whole idea of just man, woman, boom, child bang, I understand where it's come from. I'm not saying it's all typically bad, but I do think that in those scenarios, there's a lot of men who are particularly miserable, particularly men, especially. And the idea of a clan and having that team around you, I love that. I wouldn't live any other way. I love living that way.
Well, being born and raised in Miami, there's a lot of Latin culture there.
Yep.
And, the American friends, they just move out, move on their own. That's what they do. But in Latin culture, the abuela's living in the house, the family's living in there, the women are all kind of congregated together.
We could also
it's a different world.
We can also discuss it financially, right? If you're a man and a woman and you have 3 boys and they're, let's say, traditional Western, whatever, they all go and pay 3 different rents and they all move in with their girlfriends and everyone's getting wrecked, right? If you all stay together and combine your income, you also do much better financially. This is how a lot of immigrants even survived, especially Muslim immigrants in England.
I've heard you tell the story about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, they all stay together in one big house. They all pool their incomes. You have a bunch of people with average jobs and Ferraris on the drive. And then they buy the house they're in. Then they buy another. You pool the incomes. If you all split and separate and just spread out, you're just paying all different rents, all different electricity bills, and you just go broke. You have to think of the last name and the generation and the clan as a whole. So yeah, I love the idea of living with my brother. I'll never live without him. And his woman can move in. Of course, his kids can be around me. Of course, I'm uncle. Why not? I have no problem with that.
That's a dream. Let's transition to a couple other topics. So,
we're going to save this for tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate everybody staying with me. It's been a long show. I know. I was here through it all with you guys. Appreciate it. Tomorrow's not going to be that long. We're going to go through the same ordeal. We're going to pick up part 2 of this. I appreciate everybody stopping through. Y'all know what time it is. Everybody, have a good night. Peace. Oh, hold on. I can't even do it right. There I am. Ain't know where I was. Ain't know where I was. Now, ladies and gentlemen, good night. Peace.